Sammy Arms in, president of this whole blockchain thing in Florida, Bitcoin, crypto, whatever you want to call it, and a bunch of other stuff. But you have a really interesting story about drones.
Yes.
So we all know that most drones, or I guess drones originally, all of them were from China.
Correct. Most of them, 90% still are.
Oh, even now?
Yeah, like 93% of all drones in the United States are Chinese made.
And what did you do as far as drones? You tried to make the first American-made drone?
Yeah, or as American-made as possible. So one of my buddies who I've met through the crypto space started a drone company specifically because he was pissed off that China was making everything as far as drones go. Our law enforcement, our healthcare system, and even part of our military complex uses Chinese-made drones. Right, which means if you think about who's selling data, who has access to that, so it's a company called DJI, and DJI manufactures 93% now of all the drones in the United States.
And that data then has to go back from the chip to China, right?
They say it's not, but we know how honest they are. So yeah, correct. And there's actually real world examples, anecdotal stories that I've at least been told where there are drones being used in Eastern Europe right now. And for example, if the Chinese can intercept that information from where the drone pilot is and sell it to someone maybe like Russia, they can target it and bomb the guy.
And if they can do it with one country, they could do it. Like
Correct.
Hypothetically, you would assume that they can do it with every country.
Correct. So what my buddy Steven did, who I'm advising his startup on, is he essentially said, well, fuck this. I'm going to go and I'm going to figure out how to build an American-made drone with American-sourced parts, which unfortunately is incredibly hard. But he did it. And so that's what he's advocating for right now. So it's as political as it is strategic, but he's essentially used a lot of 3D printable parts, which is another thing that makes the drone unique is now you don't have to go all the way across the ocean to source supplies. So you can literally build a factory anywhere as long as you have 3D printers, print most of the drone, ship in a few other parts like the engines, and boom, you have a drone now. That's actually a lot better than what's being currently used. I mean, we're talking like, so if you imagine 3D printing, imagine if you can 3D print hollow tubes with gunpowder, right? To where that drone's now an entire flying bomb, right? And then you combine that with swarm capabilities. You combine that with to where, like, if the drone's decentralized in the sense that it's on a network frequency that people can't hack into and intercept. Imagine if you have 50 of these things coming at you and you can't, not only is it hard to shoot them, you can't use any kind of what's called signals intelligence or electronic warfare where you're using like radio waves to like get them out of the sky. You can't do that. So then if you see that, it's a pretty scary sight and they're screwed. So that's what he's working on. So it's pretty badass.
And they could have warheads on them.
Yeah.
And like that, like what we saw, we had talked before we started. We had 2 head CIA guys in, and both we went through the tic-tac-toe UFO bullshit.
Yeah.
It's 100% military. Just even if they weren't CIA guys and just the normal guy, the way that they explained it, they never call air traffic control. They're in the cockpit talking to each other. The one girl says, hey, that looks like a lifesaver.
Yeah, very. Now,
if you see something drop 30,000 feet in a fucking second, aren't you going to call air traffic control and say, I don't know what this is, but this just dropped like 30,000 feet in a second, or this is zigzagging. You're just going to talk like, hey, Sam, you see that? Like, we're 30,000 feet in the sky, but how you doing? You think we should call air traffic control or just, I don't know, hang out and take pictures? What do you think? And then what would be the best way to deflect? It's a UFO.
But most people are just going to be like, oh, I got to get this on my Snapchat right. real quick and then talk about the aliens. I don't know. I don't even know where you even get traffic control's number.
But I mean, you would call base or something.
I know. Most people just call 911 and then it's flooded with the 911 line.
From an airplane?
Oh, yeah, true. I'm thinking more if you're on the ground.
Yeah, you would
They
call
saw them while you were in an airplane?
Yeah, they were like fighter jet pilots, commercial pilots, many.
No way.
Yeah, and they started publicizing it. So I think, in my opinion, too many people saw this shit. So they have to deflect it one way or another. Even if it is our drone, we don't want anybody to know it's our drone.
Yeah.
So we would deflect. Well, the best way to deflect would say it's a UFO.
Correct.
because I think there are UFOs, but not those. And then that gets everybody's attention off. How if it's not ours and it's fucking China's? Then you definitely want to deflect that shit.
Correct. That makes us look terrible.
And you better get to work.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's how scary that shit could be. So when your friend was doing this, what's so special about the parts that we don't have here? Is it the chip? Does it always come back to the chip with this shit with China and Taiwan?
It kind of does. I mean, so for the most part, most of the chips you still have to source in Taiwan, even if it's like an American-based company, which is the unfortunate part. I know the previous administration was trying to relocate these chip manufacturing facilities actually to Texas, and they got some of them there, but it's just not scaled yet. So what's funny is anytime you bring up the Taiwan-China conversation, that's the biggest thing. Is Taiwan, for whatever reason, we gave them a monopoly on chips and computer manufactured chips, right? So as soon as that is claimed by someone like China, your microwave, your car, your cell phone, everything that we've come to know is fucked. They have their hand around it, which is really part of the strategic interest of keeping Taiwan free. But on the flip side, I think that's supposedly the reason why they moved the chip plants there, so that they could say, this is why we have to protect Taiwan, right? But now it's looking like we're not going to be able to do that no matter what. So we better start getting those people visas over here. I mean, so it'll be interesting to see what happens, because in the world today, if there's any point in time when China would invade Taiwan, it's looking like it would be during these next 2 to 4 years, right?
I think it happens right before the 2024 election. Like both these CIA guys think right before the 2024 election, and then Biden's in a tough spot. If he puts one sanction on China, we're fucked. Good night, buddy. It's over.
Yeah.
This Bitcoin shit, all this other stuff, we're dead. Because at that point, we'll be in a depression, maybe coming out of it. And he sanctions them one time. Now we get nothing. Nothing. And they take Taiwan, and there's no chips from them. China's probably already made a gazillion chips. They've been waiting 150 years to do this. This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. I want to talk to you guys out there who are working out all the time but aren't seeing any results. Your commitment isn't the issue. You're going to the gym all the time, different body parts, everything else. Before you go and buy a new supplement, try a new diet, new routine, let's talk about your testosterone. Low testosterone can affect anyone at any age. And low testosterone will take away muscle mass and you'll gain body fat. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. They're the worldwide leader at home testing kits. You order the testing kit, it's delivered right to your house, discreet packaging, next day delivery. You send it back. Once it arrives in the laboratory, your results will be available in 2 to 5 days on your secure online account. So if you want to test your testosterone levels without leaving your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS and use the code MSCS at checkout and get 30% off. The link is in the description at the top. So, like on the outside, you think, oh, well, if we sanction China, we're going to hurt their economy. No, we're not. They're patient. They're not like us and our egos and everything else and worried about dumb shit. They're worried about this shit. They want to be the world leaders. So what's a better time to do it? When you got Biden in there, who's doesn't even know what day it is. And then you got him in a position, ratings low as hell. The citizens want him to protect Taiwan. And one move, then China gives us nothing. And then what? Now you have nothing from Taiwan and you have nothing from China. What happens to the U.S. then?
I will tell you, I am actually very bearish on China in general. I don't think they're going to take over the world. So the great thing about China is the only reason they're successful is because of us, right? Nixon made that decision when we opened up China for trade. We decided to ship all of our manufacturing out of there. And NAFTA was just one piece of that. Yeah. So the previous administration was actually starting to hurt the Chinese because all their power is in supply chains and manufacturing. China's also got other problems. I mean, people think we're based off debt. China has a huge debt problem. They are an empire. There's multiple ethnicities in there, even though they're strategically ethnic cleansing all the time, especially in western provinces of China like Turkmenistan. A lot of those minority groups in China aren't going to keep taking it. And I saw a theory on Twitter. I'm a big Twitter guy, like underground Twitter, where I just look at like esoteric stuff about the pyramids and where we all came from and stuff like that. And it is because you think like you learn what history's been made up and you start to question literally just the facts on everything. And I read a really interesting thing talking about how China's most recent wave of lockdowns, I think we're in Shanghai. And the reason that was important is the political faction that was most against Xi Jinping, was based out of Shanghai.
Shit.
So it wasn't actually COVID at all. Some people believed it was a political operation where they were getting rid of resistance, right? And they just guised it under COVID. But then sometimes your marketing becomes too successful, and then the whole country does believe there's an outbreak, and people react accordingly, right? So
I'm going with that. Yeah. That makes the most sense to me.
It's hard to tell what's true. I have no idea, but all I know is that I can't believe what I see in mainstream because that's always wrong. And so then I trust this random animal avatar on Twitter. And I'm like, what's your source, bro? I'm like, bro, check out this guy on Twitter. He's like, his Avi's an anime character, is like half naked. I'm like, no, trust me, he's got all the info on China you need. So
and he probably fucking does too, right?
Literally,
that would be the kind of guy that does.
I don't know where these people come from. I'm like, who the hell is this guy that is making this so believable? And then I'll retweet the dumbest meme I've ever seen. I'll be like, just ignore that. Look at the facts.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of Twitter.
I gotta. Were you? Can you see how a drone he does drones during the day now? He used to work for NBC, Fox.
Like videography with
videography, yeah.
Nice.
Can you see how that could be done with a 3D? I mean, I know you're doing it. I'm just saying, you can?
A 3D printer, yeah. I mean, anything.
You could see how that would work with the chip?
Anything.
You can get like 90% of the drone done because a lot of it's either carbon fiber tubing or I forget what the type of plastic isn't coming to mind. But what's interesting is 3D printing is only getting better because we're able to use more durable plastics to print. And so all you have to do is print the frame, which is about 90% of it. And then you add the engines, the electronics, and then you're pretty much good to go, right? Which also means they're incredibly form-fitting. So you can edit this drone for the mission on the fly and say, okay, doing a different 3D printable design, right? Because we need to carry this kind of care package. Of course, that's hard, and there's a lot of research and development of it. And it is the hardest thing about hardware startups is the amount of testing that has to go into it. Because it is, you're building something on a computer that's 3D, that shit has to fly. And you can put in the program and be like, okay, all this makes sense. And then you flip the switch and you're like, yeah, that ain't flying. Right? So the amount of beta, which is expensive, as opposed to like a software startup, you're like, okay, one guy makes code, one-man team, innovative, sells it, done. Or it's like a SaaS product.
Right.
You're like, let it sit, figure it out. Hardware, you're like, test, money, just burning cash.
And then the compatibility with the software that then the hardware has to work with.
Correct.
Now, why are chips such a pain for us to make? Like even that UFO light that I got with Bob Lazar's guy. You should watch Bob Lazar. It's really good. But that took forever because of a fucking chip. The clock. Forever because it handmade clock. Chip.
So
all Rogan. I copied off Rogan.
I might be pulling some of this out of my ass, but one, I know that as chips have gotten smaller, we have advanced machinery that is so precise, it takes into account the rotation of the Earth. So we actually have chip manufacturing machines that have to float in the air, right? That's no bullshit. I don't know how they're floating, but they don't touch the ground because they have to be so precise. They can't let the rotation of the Earth affect the chip manufacturing. So why is it hard? It's all supply chain. So the question that I would ask is, why the hell did we ship it all to Taiwan? Right? We used to make everything here, but that's the big question. Why do we keep shipping everything over to have it
had to be
made
a deal? Had to be like I scratch your back. You had to be, right?
A lot of it was probably geopolitical. A lot of it was, because Taiwan's also one of the largest buyers of our arms, right? For obvious reasons. I mean, Taiwan, Israel, and now probably people like Poland, Ukraine, obviously, are always buying our weaponry. So a lot of times it's like, okay, if you want to buy this, well, then you got to help me create jobs here, right? How do you want to become a U.S. satellite, right? So I have no clue as to why we don't have more chip manufacturing here, like what that political math was like and what president or officials said, okay, we're going to move it to Taiwan, but in return, we're getting this. I have no clue because it seems like such a no-brainer. But sometimes I go with the philosophy that we like to think that everything's planned, right? So there's like these two sides of my brain where it's like, okay, is there a big evil boogeyman who's currently plotting the downfall of A, B, and C? And are they doing it by pushing this button? Or, which you could argue is a scarier option, is it all just incompetence, right? Are we just so incompetent, which if you think about it, is way scarier. So that's one of my theories about, I have a lot of friends who are like, Bush did 9/11 or 9/11 was an inside job. And I don't necessarily disagree that there was some aspect of planning to it or certain things. But what I find more interesting that I kind of hit back with them is I'm like, well, I've taken Intel classes about 9/11 and kind of what the Intel agencies were looking at. And a lot of it was just because they didn't share information.
Well, Rick went in. He was the head of the CIA at the time. He went in 3 years before 9/11 happened. He sat down with Bush, Rumsfeld, and said, hey, look, there's cells everywhere. They're taking pilot classes. Okay, keep watching. Went in 2 years before. He would go in every 6 months. Then he ended up going in, 61 days before 9/11?
No, he wanted, remember, they were watching Osama bin Laden well before the attacks. And he had said that he can get him now. He hadn't done anything yet. Osama bin Laden hadn't done anything yet. But they knew he was up to no good. He can go in and get him now. Like, not kill him, just get him and out, and they take him to wherever they take him. And they told him, no.
And then 61 days before 9/11, he went back in again. Yeah. And it wasn't Bush that said no. It was Rumsfeld. Rumsfeld made the decision that he and Prado and the CIA did not have enough information, even though he went in there. And, what we're about to get to, how you've gotten so big so quick. He went in there with all the intel, the top CIA guy, and Rumsfeld said that there's not enough information here for us to make a move. And 2 months later, boom, 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 and almost another boom.
Yeah.
And he said that was basically incompetence by them. Not that it was a setup job, but he just thought it was their just incompetence
complete incompetence,
in his opinion.
I mean, yeah, so even if it was a setup or it was incompetence, to me, it's scarier to think people are that incompetent. And those are the people managing your country. Because in a sense, we like to create bogeymans who control everything because it's still kind of a sphere of safety. Like, even if they're evil,
blanket.
Correct. Yeah. Even if they're evil, it's like, well, there is a hand, and I just got to get control of that hand or put a different hand on it. But then if you have the realization that there is no hand, right, that no one can put their hand on it, and people are just flying by the whatever. Is it the seat of your teeth? Is that the same?
Seat of your pants?
Seat of your pants. What's the one with the teeth?
Something.
And then what about
my mom used to say?
Seat of your pants. Skin of your teeth.
Skin of your teeth. Yeah.
There we go.
I'm going to rip you by the skin of your teeth.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm like, I don't have any skin. And that meant probably not going to be good.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's welcome to the security world, which is funny because that was one of the things that I went to school for is I was being groomed to be in intel agencies, which is also like part of my background with crypto. But like I did work at USSOCOM, which is United States Special Operations. I worked at the State Department, right, all throughout college. I got sent to Jerusalem to learn Arabic so that I could be in the Middle East, right, and maybe be an informant, right? And what's super funny is while I was in Jerusalem, I actually snuck into Palestine, which was not allowed at all. And that was incredible.
Tell me about Jerusalem. That had to be interesting. Or
Jerusalem,
different.
It was different. It was interesting. Okay, so I have a few aspects. Okay, so one.
I'm sorry. Well, first, why did you go to Jerusalem? Was that a college thing?
It was a college thing. It was the program that I was in to become a member of the feds, right? Got me a grant to go there, right? So it was strictly everything that I mostly did in college was a single trajectory of working in an intel agency, which the U.S. has like 17, right? Different intelligence agencies. You think of the FBI, CIA, but there's all these other ones that are underneath there that have their own specialty. So I was being trained. I keep saying groomed, but I was being trained to be ready upon graduation to sign up, go to DC, do whatever I had to do to get into one of those intel agencies.
Because you're an analyst, right? You were an analyst twice.
Yeah,
You were
correct.
a logistics analyst and an analyst.
Yeah,
That
so
sounds like a lot of paperwork. So I hear that, and I hear numbers, paperwork, and a job that somebody doesn't want to do, and that you get it, especially if it's during college or after college. It's just, here's Sam, do this with a bunch of, like a stack like this.
analyst is just a funny word that can be used for anything that's research based. And so that was a lot of what I did. So USSOCOM, I was doing research on whether ISIS or drug cartels were going to be using Bitcoin for terrorist attacks. Right. Wow. So it was their J36 counter threat finance unit. And so I was trying to tell them like what I thought Bitcoin would be used for, what its weaknesses, what might be, how it could be taken down. But then were criminal agencies or terrorist groups going to be using it, right?
And this was 13, 14, or what
This
year?
is 2016.
2016. Okay.
Yeah, 2016. 2017 is when I was at the State Department, and I was also in Tallahassee because after the State Department, I went to Tallahassee and was working in our government there because I just wanted to learn about the process.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot.
I bet it was.
It was a lot.
When I saw that one, I said, now that one had to be a headache.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is a lot of people today still don't know, like, everyone thinks about Congress and the president, and I go, well, do you know who your local state rep is or senator?
No.
And they're like, oh, like Marco Rubio? And I'm like, no, not like Marco Rubio. He's your senator, but you have state senators, representatives. So I was like, okay, I love Florida. One thing about being in the State Department in D.C. is I learned about how much I love Florida and how much I hate D.C. Right. So I was like, I want to move back to Florida. I want to set up my home base here. I'm a big water guy. So lake, river, spring, ocean, as long as I'm around water and in the sun, I'm happy.
You got to tell me about Jerusalem. I cut you off. So that's
Right. No. So Jerusalem was fascinating because, okay, so got sent over there to learn Arabic. I was in an intensive Arabic program there. Like we're talking 6 days a week, just all day throwing Arabic at me. The teacher's speaking in Arabic. I'm writing courses, which is very funny, by the way, because when I was going through Israeli security, they opened up my bag and they're like, what is all this Arabic writing? What are all these Arabic textbooks with all this stuff?
in U.S. security, right?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
And they're probably thinking they're
I'm
about to flag your ass.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh, great. Here we go.
Oh, boy.
So I did that, but this was I think this was also either in 2016 or 2017. It was whenever there was a possible Turkish coup where Erdogan was almost overthrown, but then revolted, which might have been CIA-led. But so Jerusalem was incredible. Obviously a very old city, and you have the Christian corner, the Jewish corner, the Muslim corner. And I was in East Jerusalem, which is like the Palestinian section, right? Which is where Hebrew University, which is where I was based. And what's funny is if you look at Hebrew University and you're just surveying Jerusalem, you notice it is very high on a hill. And it looks like a fort. It looks like a military camp because it essentially is. It is so that it is the highest point in Jerusalem or one of the highest points in Jerusalem. So if there is any issues, the Israeli government will commandeer Hebrew University and they have a strategic observance of everything below, which is the Palestinian section.
Almost like seeing above, right?
Correct.
It's pretty smart.
It is smart. I mean, they took the highest place, but now it's just a university, but who knows, right?
Right, right. What's under the fucking university, right?
Correct. And they have giant towers, right, for outlooks. And it's funny because they told us, do not leave, right? You can go, I mean, we go into Jerusalem, but they said, don't go within these circles. And because I went to USF in Tampa had a large Palestinian population. And so a lot of the people who I was taking Arabic courses with were Palestinian or Lebanese. So when I went to Jerusalem to learn Arabic, I had friends in Tampa who were visiting their parents in Palestine.
Oh, you got lucky.
And
I could just have 1% of that luck.
If there's I got even luckier because I'll tell you
Thanks.
what. So so there's two ways to get to Palestine, at least at the time. One, you have to go through Jerusalem, and take a car there, or you have to go to Jordan, right? Because there's no airport. So actually the majority of people go to Jordan because depending if you're Palestinian, you can't fly into the Israeli airports, at least so they told me. So they go there through Jordan, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to visit them. I'm here, once in a lifetime chance. Fuck it, let's see what happens, right?
Sounds like you got put on a dummy mission, buddy.
Correct. So I talked to one of the professors who were, one of them was Palestinian, and go, hey, I got friends in Ramallah, which is like the capital of Palestine. I'm like, and I'd like to go. How do you recommend I go there? And he's like, yeah, talk to me after class, right? Type deal. So I was like, okay, so what do I got to do? So he's like, okay, you take this bus and just tell them that you're going to Ramallah, and that bus should get you there. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's great advice, right?
Great.
I don't know.
I was like, yeah, I thought you were going to give me a little bit more detail when you held me after class. So I get on the bus, and I have no idea what's going on. And I'm like, okay. And so I find this little Arab kid, and I'm like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And he's like, oh, yeah. Like, he doesn't speak great English, but, you know, good enough to where he's kind of keeping me company. Of course, he's like, what's your Instagram? Give me your Instagram, bro. And, like, doing all this stuff. He's like, oh, you're from Florida. And, like,
They allow them to have that over there?
Yeah, they
I
do.
didn't think they would.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's like communist shit, right?
Yeah, Palestine is not, it's not like China, it's not like Iran, right? It's just, honestly, it's a poor, underserved area of the world with a lot of rich culture, but it's not by any means not Iran, so to speak, right? So while I was on the bus, two people get on, and they happen to be Catholic missionaries from Tennessee. And I was like, excuse me, you obviously look American. Are you going to Ramallah? And they go, yes, we are. We've lived there for like the past 2 years. I'm like, wow, okay, thank you, God. So I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to go to Ramallah. Can I just stick with you? And they said, yep, we'll take you wherever you got to go.
Keep driving that luck stick in my...
Correct.
Just keep driving me with that knife, Sam.
So we get to the wall, which the infamous wall, and I'm like, oh, shit, there is a wall, right? I mean, sometimes you're like, is it like, where is this wall that everyone mentions? I'm like, no, the wall's right there. You have to get on a separate bus, and getting in, no problem. I was like, okay, an Israeli, an IDF guy walks in the bus, kind of looks around, you know, looks everybody up and down, goes, okay, whatever, walks off. So then we get in. So now the problem is, so because I'm cheap, I didn't get an international plan for my cell phone, right? So I'm having to get to a Wi-Fi place to text my buddies where I'm at so that they even know where I am.
They have to
Still
find
alive,
you?
yeah.
They have to find, yeah, right. So just extra risk. I'm like, so if I don't find these guys, I am fucked, right? So the two missionaries go, we're going to take you to a bus stop, but it's not a real bus stop because the real bus stop was blown up. Right.
Oh, good.
Oh,
So it's a block where buses just drive around because there's no longer a bus stop there. It's literally rubble. And they said, we're going to get out, we're going to walk, and we're going to walk you to this ice cream store we know has Wi-Fi. And it's Palestinian ice cream, which Palestinian ice cream is awesome. It's like a gum. So they make it like they're stretching it. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like icy like ice cream, but it's stretchy ice cream. So I've never seen anything like it in my life. So they're like, we're going to take you to this. You're going to hook up to the Wi-Fi. Then you can message your friends.
well, Sam, they got to come up with something good if shit's getting blown up. Like, if something just got blown up 2 stores down, they better do something cool with that ice cream, right?
I
Don't
know.
blow
I know. Maybe it's the fallout from whatever they're getting bought with. Yeah, the ice cream here is sticky. So don't eat the ice cream. It's glowing. So I get to the ice cream shop. I message my friends. The missionaries leave, but I get their numbers. I still have them. I follow them on Instagram. They're back in Tennessee now. My buddies come and pick me up, and we just hang out for 3 days. We play all kinds of video games in an internet cafe. Their mom makes me the most amazing food in the world, homemade grape leaves, a chicken that they like killed down the mountain. I slept at their house, which was hot as shit. It had no AC, but I was like, I'm with my friends. I'm like experiencing it all. I even went to the mosque. I went to worship with one of them, which was super funny because they were all like late. And so we're all like hauling ass, and I'm in the back of the room. Like, I got the full experience, right? It was super cool until it's time to leave. So I'm like, right, how do I get out of here now? Right. So they were going to drive me to the exit point. So one of the problems is, and I got to remember this correctly, in Israel, your weekend is like Friday and Saturday. In Palestine, because there's a lot of Christians, your weekend is Friday and Sunday, which doesn't make sense. So you work on Saturday in the middle of the day, right?
Right.
And this is during Ramadan. So nothing during the day, no water, no nothing. And you don't want to, you want to be culturally sensitive, but you also, I don't want to stand out, right, and be drinking water in front of these people who are like parched, right? So, right, it's there.
Got a hell of a lot of credits for this shit.
Fucking Americans.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to be an asshole, don't want to be disrespectful.
Right, you got to fit in.
So I asked my buddy Sammy and Ihab, I'm like, okay, how do I get out here? And Ihab said he's going to drive me to the border, which of course you can only get so far because then traffic just stops. And that's because for Palestinians to leave, you have to get out of your car, go through a building where they search you, pat you down, then they have to search your car, and then you get back in your car and then you can drive out, which is about a 20 to 30 minute process.
Per car.
Oh
my God.
So the line very quickly just halts, and there's like nothing we can do. So Isab says, I forget who was driving, but one of them says, okay, we're going to walk. I said, okay. So we get out of the car, say goodbye to the rest of my friends who are in the car, and we're walking through what felt like a war zone. Like, it was crazy. Like, I was walking over buildings and rebar and concrete that was just blown up by something. I have no idea when, don't know the context. I don't even know if it was blown up. It could have just been, like, unfinished construction. But all I know is, like, it is desolate. And I'm like, all right, Sam, didn't think this one through.
Nor did you think the Ramadan thing through. That not really the best time to go.
I knew it was Ramadan, but I was like, still, it was Ramadan on summer, so I would have just had not to go, right? So I'm like, damn it, I'm going to go, right? So I get to the fence, and you have to imagine, like, thinking of like in a movie, there's a fence, there's an IDF soldier on the other side, there's Palestinians on the other side of the fence. Some of them are yelling. Some of them are just sitting there. Obviously, they want to go through, but they're not allowed. Some of them are talking to the Israeli soldiers on the other side. And my friend waves down an IDF soldier, and he goes, hey, my buddy's American. And as soon as he says that, everyone just looks
at you, yeah.
Now you're worried you're going to get shot right now?
No, I was never. The thing about places like Palestine or anywhere that is quote unquote not safe, you're only not safe if you're around the right people, right? And so that's what I learned. If I was alone, who knows what would have happened. But because I was with friends, because everybody knows everybody, because I was with my buddies, I knew nothing was going to happen, right? Because they also wouldn't let anything happen. But still, so the guy comes up to me and goes, what do you mean you're American? And I show him my passport. Once again, as soon as I turn out the passport, like, time slows and more people are looking. And he goes, okay, he cracks open the gate. I like have to slide through. He shuts it, locks it, and then says, okay, go on, go through the process.
And you're probably like,
I was like, holy shit.
did you get some of the mushrooms out of there? That might have been what
Mushrooms.
evolved us.
Mushrooms.
There was fucking mushrooms everywhere in Jerusalem when we were killing bears and foxes and shit. How do you think we had the balls to kill them? The good ones.
I've never heard that. I've never heard that. Psilocybin. I do take cordyceps, but they're in pill form, and they're not like psychedelics.
Now, I think the psilocybin was so good in Jerusalem back when we were evolving and killing bears and shit. I think that's how we evolved to the point where we got. I think that's how our brains got to this point.
That's the theory that apes were following, like the elephants, right, up the Africa, and the mushrooms were growing out of their shit, and they were just eating mushrooms, and that's how they gained sentience. Is that like the same theory?
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't buy that one, but
that was the same idea, mushrooms or whatever. Really? So that's what you think, Kevin?
Well, yeah, and I base that on two things. One, there was a ton of psilocybin there, and two, at that time in life, like, DMT was being released from the brain at that time naturally. Right now, you have DMT in your brain.
Yep.
Back then, it was active. It stopped now because it's no longer needed. We don't need that non-fear mechanism to go kill a bear.
Yeah.
But back then, if you don't have DMT or some shrooms, nobody's eating because who the hell is going to go?
Interesting.
Like, Sam, you gonna go after the bear?
Hell no.
Rob, you gonna go after that big fox?
Rob would go after the bear.
No.
I'm sure as fuck not. Give me the DMT in the middle of Simon, you know?
Yeah.
And I think through that, I think that's how everything happened so fast. Well, one of my theories.
Well, another thing that made Jerusalem fascinating is I am actually very religious. So I'm like, I'm who everybody hates. I'm like your first day creationist, God made the world in 7 days type deal. So I was also like, okay, cool. Let me go see some religious sites, right? That was anticlimactic. Really? Because I went to go where supposedly Jesus's tomb was. And it's in this small park. And right outside the small park is probably Jerusalem's largest bus stop. So the whole time you just see black smoke. You hear people talking, cell phones ringing. I'm like, man, this ain't the most holy place I thought it was. I'm like, this is industrial, right? So Jerusalem, it was definitely interesting. I always tell people I'm not sure I would go back. I think I got my fill. But I made the most of it. And it was hard because, once again, I was trying to learn a whole entire another language, which after Jerusalem, I actually never touched Arabic again. I fulfilled my requirements, and by then I was like, this is not a career path I want to take.
Like, can you read anything up there right now at all?
No, probably not. I mean, I could tell you, like, Al and E, like, Ari.
Like, just give me one thing and no.
Fi.
Well, so is Fi up there?
Yeah, so go up. So you see you're close. The middle one, no, go all the way to the first line. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's Fi. The Yi, the Y is the one with the two dots under it, right? Which is
I'm
like
having
a little
problem
chicken.
Finding these ones, Tommy. Sorry, I can't. He's like the Yi, the We, the what? Which one? The second, the third one?
So I got really good at writing and knowing how to pronounce the word, but I didn't necessarily know what the words were saying.
This one is about my room.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, like I know
that's a lot of work to write that shit.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But I guess it's probably no more work to them than it would be to us to write English, right? Not a lot of dots and shit. Though.
You adapt very quickly, and it's funny. Like even now, like if I probably took an intro to Arabic class, a lot of it would come right back. It changed the way I write. Literally, two things changed the way I write: studying Arabic and then calculus. Literally changed how my handwriting was formed. My father.
Oh, there you go. There's the vocabulary.
But like, if you don't put those two dots like under my father, you're done for. You might say my girlfriend and you're divorced tomorrow.
Because it's like,
you know what I mean? You got alimony bill.
Yeah. It's such a shame that I don't know how to read it like I did. I used to listen to Arabic music all the time, and
I'll tell you what,
the whole phase.
That bilingual thing is so important, especially with what you're doing.
I know.
You get that language game up. You're so young and gotten so far. You get that language game up, buddy. Wow.
The problem was
not necessary. This shit.
If I wanted to work in an intel agency, what they normally do is I had to compete with all the kids in my class who already knew Arabic because they were born and raised in it. So they grew up with both languages. And so my Arabic would never be as fluent or sound as good as the Joe Schmoes in my class who took Arabic because it's an easy language because they already know it. So they were just flying through everything. So I was like, yeah, thanks, asshole.
Well, I'm happy to hear one time you didn't have good luck.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Although the women in Arabic class was another reason why I joined. The Middle Eastern women are beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
So then maybe it wasn't so bad.
Correct, especially the Lebanese. That's another thing.
So our friend Chris Podfest says that you're an expert on the history of money. So
sure.
What is the history of money?
So the spiel that I give all pertains to Bitcoin, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is hard money. Bitcoin is currency. And so we think about, well, what is money? And a lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people actually have no idea what money is, what money represents. Money actually has certain qualities about it that make it money. So the easiest one is gold. Gold is what? It's durable. It's one of the only metals that doesn't rust. It's fungible. It's recognizable. You can break it apart into smaller pieces. So when people were trying to think of things to trade, it also has a high stock-to-flow ratio. Stock-to-flow ratio is what is the total amount of a commodity in its supply, and flow is what's being added on, right? So every commodity is measured by stock-to-flow, including gold and precious metals.
And what's stock-to-flow again?
Stock-to-flow is a ratio that determines essentially how inflationary a currency is, right, or a commodity. So you think of all the wood in the world, or all the lumber.
Okay.
Whatever that amount is, let's call it 1,000 tons.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's say, so that's the stock.
Stock is 1,000 tons.
1,000 tons. The flow is how much new lumber is put into the market every year. So if the stock is 1,000 tons, the flow might be 10 tons, right? Because we're adding 10 tons every year to that 1,000 tons. So that has a relatively smaller stock to flow ratio, right? Or I'm sorry, it has a relatively higher stock to flow ratio. Correct. As opposed to if you think of the US dollar, which you can just create out of thin air, has probably a negative stock to flow ratio, right? Because we can have a stock, I mean, what was it? 75% of US dollars in the history of the United States were printed in the past like 3 years, right? So you had this entire stock, and then in a 3-year period, a flow that was larger than the stock's ever been.
How insane is that?
That's great.
But that's one of the reasons why inflation's created. So when you go back to the history of money, I'll give you an example. So you're the Spanish Empire, you're the British Empire, whichever one you want to be, and you come to a remote island, and this remote island uses seashells as currency. Why do they use seashells in currency on this small island? Because if you think of what's durable, what can I use to trade that makes sense? What's something that's decently fungible? I mean, they don't have gold on the island. You can't use coconuts. Coconuts go bad. Wood goes bad. You can't use sand. You can't keep track of sand. So they use seashells. So they decide to use seashells as money. And the Spanish or the British, they come along with their global navies and say, well, we can get seashells from the island over there, right? So what do? They start collecting all these seashells. They take the seashells to the island. They buy up all the goods. And by the time they buy up all the goods, guess what? The seashells on the island are no longer useful, right? So the island now has to convert to the gold standard. But what did the British do? The British inflated the seashell island's economy by introducing more seashells. So they upped the flow when the stock was relatively the same, right? So that's how you create inflation. And that's why the stock to flow model matters. So it used to be that our one world currency, for the most part, was either gold, sometimes it was silver. You know, the US, we actually had a bimetallic standard where it was gold and silver for some time, especially throughout the Civil War. But everything tied back to gold, right? The gold was the number one currency because it had low inflation. So I knew if I hid gold in the bank under my bed, it wasn't just going to, like those seashells, be inflated away, right? So money has to have properties that make it useful, because if you have something that's inflating all the time, we can't use it as a value exchange.
So in other words, like, we can print money, right?
Correct.
But we can't make more gold. We can't make more diamonds.
So
Am I following it right?
Correct. So there's a fixed supply of gold. What's interesting is all the easy gold has been mined, right? The California gold rush, there was gold in the rivers. Now what do you need to mine gold? You need large equipment. You need to survey. You need to prospect. You need to say, I'm going to bet my life savings there's gold here. And if there's no gold, you're fucked, right?
That's a hell of a fucking hedge bet, right?
Yeah, but that's what they have to do now. Now, of course, we're better at it, but it's the same thing we do with diamonds, right? So that's why the stock to flow, that's why we don't have a huge flow of gold all the time, because it's getting harder and harder to find. You know, people talk about, oh, it's in space. Well, we can't get it in space yet, so it's still hard to mine, right?
Yeah. There's plenty of diamonds up there, too. Believe me, if somebody could get there, they would be there. This podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy. This episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water. It's Fiji water.
Again, that's FijiWater.com. MSCS, $5 off and free shipping. Asteroids are all fucking diamonds, bro.
Correct. And apparently, we have plenty of diamonds to go around, and that's artificially limited and all that. Don't get me started on that.
Cubans Vukovic, you mean?
Yeah, right. So
if they can make them good enough that where the girls don't know, we win.
Correct. So money has properties. Gold fit a lot of those, right? And that's why we use gold. Up until what happened. So we had a few big things in American history that changed the game. One, Woodrow Wilson invented the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve was a centralized institution that said we are going to control the economy, right? We're going, even though it's not necessarily part of the Constitution, even though they don't do what the Treasury does, because the Treasury has the authority to print money, the Fed essentially says, here's the amount of money that we need, Treasury, go print it. Right, and they do that through various buying and selling mechanisms that the Fed uses in the Fed funds rate. And I'm not going to get into all that. But
before they made that decision to do that, how are they operating before that? So before they said, okay, we're going to make this the economy, the Federal Reserve, yeah. How was it? How did things work?
So the Treasury Department handled everything.
Everything. Okay.
And if you look at a graph, actually, and this is something that people who like the Federal Reserve will show. If you look at a graph of U.S. economy booms and busts, it looks like a heart monitor. It is constant boom, constant bust.
Can you Google that?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the creation of the Federal Reserve, it starts to taper off, and you have less of frequent booms and busts. However, after Fed's created is when you start getting very big booms and very big busts, like the Great Depression, right? So we centralized or tried to centralize and control our economy. So that was step one, Woodrow Wilson. Second step was FDR temporarily going off the gold standard or copying or trying to get everybody's gold out of their homes, right, is what FDR did. He said it was a war effort. So he said it is illegal to have gold. You need to sell it to the U.S. government. And a lot of people, and a lot of people patriotically said, okay, yeah, that's my duty. We need to do this for the war effort. Let's do it.
Okay, here's what you're talking about.
Let's see.
Velocity of money.
No, so you need to go back quicker. So do Google pre-Federal Reserve boom and bust period, or do pre and post Federal Reserve boom and bust period, because you're looking at.
Because somebody that doesn't know, like would never know what this chart. They would see this chart and just be like, oh, whatever. So it's cool for you to explain it so people know what the hell they're looking at,
I wonder if you'll even be able to find it. Some of this info is such a pain in the ass to find.
Yeah.
Because all this is recent. This is 2005. Like I'm talking about, we need to find a graph that looks at the 1800s of the U.S. economy.
Yeah. And anything new, they probably have it shadow banned anyway.
I mean,
very, very possible that they could.
It's crazy because documents that I was looking for last year, I was actually looking for recently. I was like, oh, holy shit, it was 10 times harder to find the document I was looking for. I found it, but I was like, someone made an effort to make it so that I couldn't
look, he's been scrolling the whole time, and there's nothing.
So in the back,
I'll take your word for it.
So you have FDR confiscating everybody's gold. And then you have the post-World War II Bretton Woods system, which is the U.S. dollar is king. But the U.S. dollar was still backed by gold, supposedly, right? So we're still on a gold standard until Nixon ends that gold standard, right?
Now, in your opinion, when he ended that gold standard, was that a good move or a bad move?
I think it was a bad move, right? I mean, it's hard to say. So I would argue, yes, it was a very bad move because of the consequences that we're living through now, just by human nature. I understand why some people liked it. As an American, my goal is I want to see America be the strongest country out there. What Nixon did was he made the U.S. dollar the global world reserve, which is one of the reasons we're as powerful as we are. It's one of the reasons why our economy's done as great as it has, right? Because people want to hold American assets. So I could argue that that's all a very good thing. Problem is nothing good lasts forever, and humans are not responsible. We know government especially is not responsible. So Nixon, we go off the gold standard, and we steadily start printing more and more money, to the point where, like I said, the past 3 years, we've printed more dollars than have ever been in existence.
On top of all the debt that we're fucking in.
Correct. And so you start to see all those things climb to the point where our currency is going down the shitter, right? It's not going to be near as useful as we thought it was. And if our currency goes away, so does a lot of our geopolitical strength. But going back to the history of money, why is that? Well, we're now both the British and the island people, right? We're giving ourselves seashells,
Yeah.
right? So we're deflating our own economy. So the question is, what do we go back to? We need hard money. See where I'm going?
I see where you're going.
So what I can tell you is
Good point.
it's
Great
not,
point.
it's hard to go back to gold, especially with my generation. Everything's digital now. There are people who are trying to do digital gold, right? Which is just a digital IOU. That's all that is. But where's all the gold? The governments have it all, right? I can go to a pawn shop, but the largest stores of gold are in China, Russia, England, the United States, and maybe somewhere like Canada or Germany. The governments have all the gold. So what are the people going to use? So that's the problem that Bitcoin's supposed to be solving. So what Bitcoin did is it essentially electronically replicates the entire process of gold to where it's treated like a commodity, so it has a high stock to flow ratio, creating value. So what does all that mean? So Bitcoin, there's only 21 million Bitcoin ever in existence. Just like in our world, there's
When
only
you say existence,
like no one can print more Bitcoin.
you can't print Bitcoin.
Correct.
You can't see Bitcoin.
It's just digital.
So no, it's
So
just
in
there.
the correct.
It's in the air somewhere.
Correct.
Who
Just
controls it?
Nobody.
Nobody controls
Nobody.
it.
Correct. So I'll walk you through. So don't worry, we'll answer all those questions. So there's only 21 million Bitcoin. So that's the stock. We have the stock. Just like
You think there's only 21 million.
Sure.
Because you don't know who's running it, right?
No, there
then
is
how could you
21
possibly
million
know
because
that?
it's open source and it's decentralized.
It's not open source.
It is open source.
You can see the source code.
You can see the source code
Oh, really?
of
Okay.
Bitcoin. Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
So in 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto,
That changes things. Yeah.
part of the Bitcoin white paper was, hey guys, I think I figured this out. So I'll back up for you. So you have the personal computer revolution of the 70s, 80s, 90s. You're moving from IBM and these big DOS-based systems to now
DOS.
the Microsoft
DOS.
revolution of personal computers.
Windows, yeah.
Well, in the 80s and 90s, you have this group called the cypherpunks, who are all anarchists who hate government in general, but they really hate the Federal Reserve. And they view the dollar as the dominant authority of polluting freedom, personal responsibility, all that stuff. So these guys say, we're going to try to subvert the U.S. by creating our own currency. They come up with all kinds of different ideas, models, projects, but no one entirely figures it out because there's always a centralized point of failure. And if there's a centralized point of failure, the U.S. government can take it down.
Right.
That's the problem. So in 2008, funny enough, during the economic crisis that we're all very familiar with, that's when Satoshi Nakamoto releases his Bitcoin white paper, and he goes,
And am I right, Sam? When he released it, it was never meant to be like a massive currency like this. Is that accurate?
no, that's not accurate.
That's not accurate.
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought that his purpose was never for it to be like this, more of like a Venmo or a Cash
No,
App.
so the goal was hard money and store value.
Okay.
It was from the beginning. And often the bigger question is, do stores of value become currency or do they remain stores of value? So gold was a store of value that became a currency, but there were other minor precious metals like silver, copper that may have been used more for the currency. So the argument is Bitcoin going to become a currency or is it just going to become a store of value that people hold and save to hedge against inflation? So 2008, he releases it and he goes, guys, I figured it out. I figured it out how to make it decentralized, right? And so Bitcoin is the essential part of what keeps it decentralized. So let's go back to gold. What do you have to do to find gold? You have to mine for it. Mining takes real world resources, manpower, labor, money, investment.
Dealing with the government.
Correct. That's one of the reasons why its stock to flow ratio is the highest of all metals, because it's hard to find. It's a finite resource, right? And that's what has made it a great store of value. So how do you replicate that on a digital level? Well, let's think of Bank of America. When I want to send you $5 to your Bank of America, that's an equation. The equation is Sam wants to send Tommy $5. The equation says Sam minus 5, Tommy plus 5. Who solves that equation? Bank of America solves that equation, right? But we don't think about all the computing power and the data servers that Bank of America does to do that. That costs them money, electricity, right, that they pay for. But we don't think about it because that's not, I'm just sending you $5. We're on the same network. So if I want to get rid of Bank of America, what I have to do is I have to create an entire system of computers that are decentralized. What does that mean? It means any computer can do the function of any other computer. There is no central point of failure. So you have all these people all over the world running their computers saying, hey, Sam wants to send Tommy 5 Bitcoin. I will do that. I will donate my computing power to send Tommy 5 Bitcoin, right? And the computers all around the world, they say, okay, we'll solve that equation. The question is, what is the incentive for them to do that? That computer uses electricity, right? So that's costing the person who's doing that real world money. The solution is Bitcoin. So they solve our transaction and they are rewarded with crypto. They're rewarded with Bitcoin. Just how if you're digging in a gold mine, right, you're betting that you're going to find gold. Now, of course, the algorithm determines who actually gets the Bitcoin, right? Because there are multiple miners competing for that Bitcoin. So when I say solving the equation, that's the role that miners have. Miners, Bitcoin miners, which I'm sure you've seen. If you look up Bitcoin miners, it used to be that I could mine Bitcoin on something just like my phone. Now you need buildings bigger than this to mine Bitcoin, right? Because also just like gold, it's gotten harder, right? It used to be easy, but now it's gotten harder just like gold, which means what? Its stock to flow ratio is getting higher.
Who makes it harder?
The algorithm makes it harder. So
who controls the algorithm?
It's Bitcoin. Who controls the algorithm?
That's a big deal.
No, so when they wrote the code, right, it's like the same person who controls that. It's 21 million. So technically, the community as a whole, right, controls it, right, because it's a consensus mechanism. So that's why they say, because it's decentralized, if 51%, it's called like a 51% attack, if 51% of the people try to vote or use their computing power to do something different, that's what makes Bitcoin vulnerable, right? That has been tried multiple times in the Bitcoin network, and it continuously fails because getting 51% of a huge distributed network is incredibly hard. There have been changes to the Bitcoin code, but those create forks. That's where you get Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold. So what they do is they create a fork, they change the code, they tell miners to start mining theirs, but it doesn't get rid of the original Bitcoin. It just forks off. So it's all built into the code. It's all built into the code, which is open source, but to make an update, you need 51% of all the miners in the world to essentially agree to some kind of change, which is incredibly hard. So miners serve two functions. The miner replaces Bank of America because he solves our transaction, and then the miner brings into new existence more Bitcoin, right? Because they are mining for Bitcoin. So what you have to think of is Bitcoin is not just technology, it's an economic incentive system to get people to do something that benefits the community by rewarding them with a token. And so now everything that has to do with cryptocurrency, Web3, NFTs, DeFi, a lot of these people, all they're trying to do is saying, I want a group of people to perform action A. How do I get them to do that? Well, I can incentivize them to do that with token B, right? Do you have Snapchat?
No.
So
I had it for a little bit, and then I kind of like died off, or I just stopped messing with it.
Do you ever get the little flames by somebody's name? Do you remember those?
No, I just went on to watch DJ Khaled with his shirt off do something funny.
Oh,
I'm not. Yeah.
So Snapchat, in a sense, is gamified communication. So when I am talking to someone for more than 3 days, I get a flame with a little number, and that flame continues to go up. So I have it's called Snapstreak. So I have Snapstreak with someone sometimes over like 400 days, right? So we talk to each other.
Anything to keep you locked on that fucking phone, right?
But do you see where I'm going? That's an incentive mechanism. So Snapchat, all they have to do is create a Snapchat token that you get rewarded for talking to people.
And they change again.
Same thing.
Idiots.
And I don't know why they haven't done that. I know Snapchat, if you're listening to this, give me credit.
Hey, 20% to him.
20%. But that would be genius. They'd have their own economy, but they've already gamified it. So Bitcoin is gamified currency, right? They figured out we can gamify currency in this economic system to where now we don't need a bank. And it's worked pretty damn good. Bitcoin's never been hacked. Even when it goes from 60 to 20, well, it went from 0 to 20, right? So we have this stable, somewhat, store of value that we know, most importantly, no government can control, and that I can access anywhere with internet. So let's take the recent conflict in Ukraine and Russia. Interesting, because now it's so big it's become geopolitical. Both countries almost immediately upon opening up warfare legalize crypto. Russia legalizes it supposedly to skirt sanctions, right? And there's always talks of whether these people are going to be using crypto to, buy barrels of oil. They don't need to do that, but there's talks of it. Ukrainians who were in Russian parts of the world may have had certain bank accounts that were seized, or they wanted to flee Ukraine. They immediately converted their money to Bitcoin and fled across the country, right, into Poland or into France. Can't do that with gold. What am I going to do? Carry my net worth of gold around with me? But if I have a flash drive, right, or if I have like a cold storage wallet, or if I have a wallet on my phone, I can keep millions of dollars of Bitcoin on my phone and run and escape and get the hell out. I can put it on a piece of paper.
So you pray for two things. One, you don't get killed on the run out.
Correct.
And two, it doesn't drop $30,000 by the time you do get out.
But even if it drops, what's the point? Because let's say you're Ukrainian, you sell all your shit, and it drops 50%. Well, that's still 50% more than what you would have had when it was seized by your government.
And it's better than getting blown the fuck up, too.
Correct.
So in that instance, I agree.
Correct.
What I don't understand though is like you go from Bitcoin, right, and then you see like Dogecoin and all these other ones, right? Can I create a Rob coin and that becomes a? That's what I don't understand when you see all these different types of cryptocurrency.
So you can. So here's the thing. Bitcoin has the advantage that it snuck under the radar and became decentralized throughout the world without anyone really thinking about it. Bitcoin for the longest time was a joke, right? So governments didn't pay attention. They knew it would go away. And all while they're ignoring it, there's a node in here, there's a node there, in this country, that country, to the point where Bitcoin is now all over the world.
El Salvador is all Bitcoin. That president made it all Bitcoin.
So to your point, Bitcoin is kind of like the king of decentralized currency. It's very hard to replicate because now the cat's out of the bag. So a lot of these people, like I can create a Sam coin, right? And I can give that Sam coin value and try to create a value proposition. But it's going to be hard for me to make a Sam coin that is decentralized like Bitcoin, right? A lot of these coins have central points of failure. So Sam coin's central point of failure would be me and whatever Amazon AWS server I'm running Sam coin on. Which means if Sam coin becomes a threat to the powers that be, they just kill me or they find my house, raid it, and then get rid of Sam coin forever.
But then, so there's, how many Bitcoin are there total?
21 million.
21 million. And that's divided up against who knows, right? Who has this much of it? And
sure. Right now there's been like 18 million that's been mined.
So, all right. So hold on. Let me back up because I'm confused. There's, one more time, how many million?
21 million.
21 million
total that will ever be in circulation, yes.
And 18 million of it is mined, so there's still 3 million left to be mined.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly 3 million.
It changes every day. You can even Google that too, how much Bitcoin's been mined, but yeah.
So then, I guess I'm just confused on how you can't create any more of it.
Yeah.
Can Tommy, let's say Tommy, can he try to not hack it, but get more of Bitcoin, like buy your Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna trade his
That's
Bitcoin,
what exchanges
and then
for.
one person would just control it all.
No, so to do the 51%, you need 51% of the mining power. Not ownership of Bitcoin, but of the miners. So the miners are the giant facilities that you see. And there were people that were concerned. So for the longest time, China was the largest miner, right? China, I think at one point had upwards of 40% of all Bitcoin mining. And so that was a little bit of a concern. But then what did China do? China completely banned Bitcoin mining. And within 2 to 3 weeks, you saw the hash rate, which the hash rate is just a fancy way, a term of how much computing power is being generated to mine Bitcoin, right? You saw the hash rate instantly plummet, but the Bitcoin network was perfectly fine. Me and you could still trade.
Why would China ban it? Why would they do that? They're smarter than smart.
No, China's like everybody else. China's goal is what they believe to be power and self-preservation.
They want world domination. They want to be rulers of the world.
I don't even know if they want to be rulers of the world. I don't even know if I would agree with that. They want to be a regional power, and they want to control their space, which you could say is the South China Sea up into Australia, Hawaii maybe. So they don't necessarily care about the whole world, but they care about their region of the world.
They want like that line. It's like a line that
Correct.
goes straight down, right?
Correct. So China banned it maybe for a few reasons. One, because they believe it is a threat to their general currency and they don't want to support it, is probably the main reason. They could have been scared of people circumventing their system because they track everything over there. All the cash is digital. Everyone does it through WeChat and WePay. So, they could be using Bitcoin and they wouldn't like that because you can make Bitcoin more, it's pseudo-anonymous. You can track Bitcoin transactions pretty easily, but there are ways to make it more private. So China probably didn't like that.
Also, I forgot, they control everything in the fucking planet that goes on over there. So if they can't control Bitcoin, which they can't, right?
Yeah.
Then they're not going to want that because
Correct.
they make you get off the internet, which I think is actually a good thing, at 6:30. Like if you have a kid, I think under 14,
Yeah.
you can't get on like TikTok or whatever.
Correct.
Korea, they go to school all day.
Yeah, they pray.
They have dinner and then they go to something called Hagwa, and it's more school. And then they go to bed. No social,
Yep.
no social. It's just school, school, school.
Well, and now you're talking cultural differences, and there's pluses and minuses to both,
fuck
right?
yeah.
Because my simple argument would be, of course, we're the inverse. Like we're hyper individualist over here, and in China they are hyper whatever the opposite of individualism is,
Yeah.
like collectivism, right? Which is why a lot of creativity happens over here, right, in the Western world, but a lot of the work ethic comes from the Eastern world, right? Which is why when you have Asian students come over to America, they just dominate because all they take is that work ethic in the system that we built and they just excel.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, well, we come up with the stuff, and then they steal our data, and because they work 20 hours a day, just give that, after they steal it, it's a home run for them. They just hit a grand
Oh,
slam.
you guys did all the work.
Yeah,
We
thank
said-
you. Thank you, Sam, for keeping that phone on.
So there's a cryptocurrency
30 motherfucker.
that was it was supposedly a coup of Bitcoin. It's called Bitcoin Cash, and it was very
that one.
divisive.
That one almost got me hooked on that one.
So Bitcoin,
I almost bought into that bitch.
well, so Bitcoin Cash was all about editing the core Bitcoin code, right? And so
That's why I liked it, because that I felt I had somewhat like
because it was newer.
newer, and I knew, I saw the code, and I didn't know that it was completely open source, but I just felt better about Bitcoin Cash.
So Bitcoin Cash, I don't even remember the dude's name now
So
because I don't even know if he's is relevant. Cool guy though. He essentially, what he tried to do was get a bunch of miners and support his version of the code and make Bitcoin Cash the new Bitcoin. Well, it didn't work. He failed, which is why it's called Bitcoin Cash, right? Because he had to go with a different name. But a lot of people suspiciously thought that China was actually backing Bitcoin Cash, which is why the most popular crypto in China was Bitcoin Cash, right? Because the guy who was trying to, Roger Ver supposedly was colluding with Chinese Bitcoin miners.
Do you think he was?
Could have been likely.
Yeah.
I mean,
like a 50-50. Who knows anymore, right?
yeah, correct.
But if he wasn't, that would have been, I would have been more comfortable. with
But
that.
Bitcoin Cash, what it would have done is it would have centralized mining. So one of the benefits of Bitcoin is anyone can run a miner, which is what makes it decentralized. So without going into the technical details, I think, personal opinion, people disagree, that Bitcoin Cash would have centralized mining, which is what you could then kill Bitcoin if you find these centralized miners and take them
Yeah, and
offline.
then, agree with you 100%.
So do we know how many miners there are too? Is that how?
That I don't know, and I don't even know if you can Google that. But there's there's publicly traded mining companies now. You can look at the overall hash rate, and that'll kind of give you an idea.
Because I get again, I'm loving this conversation. By the way, it blows my mind. I don't know it fully, and I'm learning. I'm learning more.
Sam's very good.
You're explaining it very well.
We've
Yeah,
had
you're
plenty of
explaining it the best we've ever had on here.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm failing to make the connection with is, I understand all the digitalness, I understand all that type of stuff, but who's to say that we've already talked about China. Let's just use Russia as the example.
Yeah.
We always hear Vladimir Putin's behind Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Those rumors, people say that all the time. Who's to say he's not? How do we not know he and his empire has this mining, has this site built that they control? And when they want to shut it off, they shut it off. And I know that you say you can't shut it off, but
how if they found a loophole?
So
is there a possibility, I guess, is my question.
I mean, anything's possible, right? Yeah. So one, everything in the world is about incentives. So the number one question is always why. And I don't always understand the whys. I still don't understand, for example, if you're Chinese and you view Bitcoin as a threat, they had a large majority of the mining power. Why did they not increase that and try to hit 51%?
And then they would have full control.
Not full control.
Well, they would have the 51%.
They would have been able to edit things a certain way and certainly would have gained an edge in the network. I'm not entirely sure what all they would have been able to do. But the big deal is if you have 51%, you can supposedly go back and reverse transactions, right? Which is why 51% is such a big deal. Why didn't they do that? I still don't understand, because it makes logical sense to me. If I wanted to shut down Bitcoin, which I do Bitcoin wargaming, by the way, as I did it at a previous conference where I pretend if I'm the government what I would do to try to stop adoption of this. Why wouldn't they just increase their mining output? But instead they banned it. They banned it completely. And a lot of those miners moved to the U.S., which I think the U.S. now has about, last stat I saw, 35% of all Bitcoin mining, right? So is there a possibility that it was created by the CIA, FBI, Russia? I mean, sure, maybe, because no one knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. We know he hung around on group chats, emails. We can read his emails that he had with different people, some of whom we know by name, right? Those are like the Hal Finney, Craig Wrights of the world and stuff that people maybe think could be Satoshi. But like the best argument that I would give is Bitcoin does not meet the national interest of Russia or the US to create. If it did, it's only, especially if if you're the US, why would you create a currency that is antithetical to the dollar? Right, that is literally a store value that counters the U.S. dollar's inflation. Like, we know what the mission of Bitcoin is. It is anti-printing money. If you're Russia, maybe they could create it because they hate the U.S. dollar and the U.S. dollar-based system. That much is true. But still, what do they want? They want a powerful ruble, right? They don't want another powerful other currency, right? They want the ruble to be what the dollar is today, because the Russian government, they can print as much of the ruble as they want, right? Everyone's got their own mini Federal Reserves now. So it's just hard to figure out what the incentive would be. And then you think, okay, say it is centrally controlled and they would turn off the light switch. When and where would they do that? Because so far, when Bitcoin hit 60,000, well, they just made a shit ton of people rich, right? Who sold. And maybe gave people who they don't like power and influence. So when do they shut off that switch? When it hits 100,000? When it hits 1 million? Right? So the incentives to me just don't seem too aligned to be there, to be some kind of federal project.
See, I don't see China. I don't understand China either. But I do think that Putin, not saying like he owns all of it, but I think he controls a lot of it. And the reason I say that is because they were going to hit Ukraine, Soviet Union, whatever you want. They've been waiting to do this forever, just like China. Now they have their opportunity. You sanction him, I don't think he gives a fuck.
Well, I have to be careful what I say, but Ukraine's interesting because in 2014, we backed a coup in Ukraine.
Well, Ukraine is dirty as can be. How many times did we go there and check their nukes and they failed? I mean, they're crooked as hell. And nobody wants to talk about that on TV.
But we backed a coup in 2014, and I tell people all the time.
Yeah, we trained the fuck out of them.
Imagine if Vladimir Putin installed a Russian puppet in Mexico, and then the Mexican government said, we're going to put nukes here. What do you think we do? Right? That's like in our face. Ukraine is Russia's Mexico, right? Yeah. So it's always been in their sphere of influence. A lot of Kiev is like one of the cultural apexes of Russian identity, right? So it's a little bit, anything with Russia and Ukraine, I'm like, it's hard to parse what the there is. But certainly, I wouldn't doubt if there are leaders around the world that own Bitcoin in large amounts. Yeah. One strategy that I had was, I don't know why the U.S. government doesn't just start buying Bitcoin itself. They could become a huge market maker. However, we can track the wallets. So we could say, oh, this wallet just came online and this wallet's buying this amount of money. We don't know who's behind the wallet, but we can track wallets. There are Twitter accounts dedicating to track what are called whale wallets, which are these big wallets. Most of them are probably run by the exchanges or by miners. And they can say, oh, this wallet was just woken up, right? And they started selling, right? And like, what does that mean for the rest of the market, right? What does that mean for us? Is like, oh shit, does that mean I should be selling? Or, so a lot of people track these large wallets. So we could, if Russia made a wallet, which maybe they have already, I don't know, at least be able to track what these large wallet owners are doing.
Possibly.
Right? Well, we can say, so it's pseudonymous in that we don't necessarily know who's behind the wallets. Yeah, but I can see that wallet A sent money to wallet B, sent to wallet C, D, E, F, all, and I can follow that.
See, when I didn't know it was open source, that changed. I learned a lot.
I learned a lot. Yeah.
Because when it's open source, you can see every move it makes.
But so here's another question, then, quick, just because it's on my head.
Please.
Sure.
You have this virtual system, which right now, I buy everything with my debit card. There's really no cash exchange anymore, right? Can Bitcoin, in this sense, can you be scammed? Meaning, can you loot? Like, someone could break into my bank account, right? If I scan my card at the gas station, and they can steal my money digitally, and they can wipe my account out, right?
Yeah, like remember when everybody was going to the gas stations and they had the card readers in there?
Is there a way, as of right now, that people can steal your Bitcoin?
Absolutely.
Yes?
So the hardest part about Bitcoin is my bank account of US dollars, which are being inflated away and can be taken any day by the US government if they decide, is FDIC backed and insured. So when I do go to a gas station and my shit gets taken, I can get that money back. Bitcoin is a one-way transaction. If someone's able to get into your Bitcoin and steal it, it's gone. You cannot get that back.
And not that I'm looking to be a hacker here for Bitcoin, but how would someone get that if they had access to your phone almost, if they've had access to...
Sure. So a common phrase in the Bitcoin community is not your keys, not your coin. So Bitcoin, you do become your own bank. So when you create a Bitcoin wallet, you're given a series of words, and those words are essentially a English translation of a large hash function written in SHA-256 that is a giant password to your private wallet. Your private wallet is just a P.O. box. So a P.O. box, anyone can put something in there. Everyone knows where the P.O. box is, but you have the key, and anyone with that key can go in and get mail, right? So everyone, when you create a Bitcoin wallet, has a private key. And I can throw my phone in the ocean. As long as I have that private key, I can get back to my Bitcoin, right? That means if anyone else takes that private key, they can get my Bitcoin. The other fact is a lot of people keep their money on exchanges. When you sign up for an exchange account, they don't give you a private key, because they have the private key, because it's technically their Bitcoin. This is something going on with Celsius right now, which was a CeFi DeFi exchange. Anyone who has kept their crypto on Celsius technically had the private key, and I just saw a legal document that said technically Celsius does not have to give people back their money because they had the private key. So that's why you buy your Bitcoin on an exchange, and then you almost immediately take it off and put it in a safer Bitcoin wallet, which there are many of.
So basically, the only way it could get hacked if somebody got your key. If somebody can't get your key, being that it's built on the blockchain, there's no way.
Correct. As long as you have your key, which once again, so if I have a piece of paper with my key on it and I need to get the hell out of Dodge, right? All I need is that piece of paper. A lot of people, of course, have large amounts of money, so they get steel plates. and they engrave in the steel plates and then have 5 steel plates around the
So
United
it's literally,
States.
but it's sorry. So just so I'm right. So it's literally like a code that you have written on a piece. Well,
Yeah.
Whatever you decide to put.
It would be like 16 letters. It would be like fungus, wood, table, chair.
Yeah, it's all crazy shit.
Correct. And those words are the English translation of a series of letters and numbers that you wouldn't be able to remember anyway. So they translate it into English words, and each of those words that you know in input fills in that puzzle.
Yeah.
Wow.
I use Coinbase because I do accept it with my other company, but I know Coinbase is one of the worst ones to use, right?
No,
it
I
was
use-
just simple.
I use
used
Coinbase.
it since shit like 17.
No,
Oh, you use it too?
I use Coinbase Pro all the time. I just take my money off of it.
Yeah.
So I just don't hold my Bitcoin on there. But
Yeah, I
I
get rid
always
of it
buy
too.
on Bitcoin.
Yeah,
I
as
don't
soon as
have
I get it,
Coinbase.
I dump it. Yeah, now, you go to school, you want to be FBI guy. See, how in the hell do you go from wanting to be FBI, doing all this analyst bullshit,
Sure.
Slugging with this paperwork, you're getting you get sent to Jerusalem on a dummy job and barely make it out, kind of in a way.
No,
I'm just messing.
good food.
Okay,
Made out
good
with
food and girls, but I mean,
Exactly.
you're on your path. You're trying to learn another language. The FBI would like that, right? CIA, and somehow you end up in this thing that you can't even touch. So how in the hell? Because every FBI guy, every CIA guy, every fucking like high-end military guy hates Bitcoin, like despises it that I know. So you're in that league. That's what like you're looking to do. And somehow you end up as the top guy in like Florida with this Bitcoin. How did you get into Bitcoin? And not necessarily how did you get into it because it was around. When did the light kick off that like you want to make a move on this? And then we can get into all the big shit you got going on. But when was the light? I would imagine that the thought was kind of there earlier. It was hanging. But when did the light click that this is what I want to do? Was it when you were doing Analyst and you saw something or what?
No, so I'll start with my origin story, which is one of the coolest origin stories, right? How I discovered Bitcoin was in high school, and this will date myself in like 2012, 2013 when I was in high school. And everyone's got a friend like this. My buddy Tyler, still a very good friend of mine today, was the type of person who could make a nuclear bomb in his garage, but was flunking all his courses. Right?
Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
So he just wasn't meant for school. School system's shitty anyway, especially the schools that we went to. But Tyler was a genius, but just was not meant for the school system. And he comes up to me one day and he's like, "Hey, Sam, I got you some Bitcoin." I'm like, "Tyler, what the hell are you talking about?" Right? Tyler always has a new idea. Right now, his biggest idea is he's obsessed with termites, which may be the future, I guess.
We got to talk to Tyler.
I know. You should have Tyler on here.
Fuck yeah. Can you ask him what the hell, what's with the
Termites,
termites, buddy?
I know,
Is it this raid shit that's killing everybody that they're talking about? That peroxide? It's killing people left and right.
So Tyler gets me my first Bitcoin without me ever knowing what it was. He set up a Bitcoin wallet for me, which I still have. And the irony is the Bitcoin that Tyler bought for himself, he lost. But I still have mine that he originally gave me. All right. So that's how I got into it. And that was just kind of like okay, what is this? Right. And of course you're in high school. I don't have money to invest. Like I come from a very lower class middle family. So I'm just like always having to work. Don't even think about, Bitcoin. But I always had it, did my research on it. But it really was always in the back of my mind. And as I was going throughout college at first, I was just like, well, I know enough about it to where I'm just going to use it in interviews to try to make me look unique, right? So I started doing more studying and reading up on it. And the first gaze into the professional world of Bitcoin that got me started was the presentation to United States Special Operations Command. So
what is that?
United States Special Operations Command is... it's almost like an intel agency, but I believe it's under the military. It's like CENTCOM. So you have CENTCOM, SOCOM. They're each given a region of the world to monitor for terrorism and terrorist activities. And so SOCOM, they're the whole world, right? And they're out of Tampa. And so they wouldn't have been the guys who killed bin Laden, but like they're up there with the amount of intel work that they do. So it's like serious stuff. So I found a mentor. So in college, I was president of the Mali United Nations there. which is like a little nerdy organization where you go and debate and pretend you're a country and all kinds of stuff. And a guy found me, my mentor, Walter Andrew Sisson, who was like a State Department official during the breakup of Yugoslavia and was like, you know, in Sarajevo, dodging stuff, doing crazy stuff. He found me and he said,
how'd his eyes look? Dark as can be? He had them dark eyes.
He's incredible, though. He's an interesting guy. He found me. We got connected. And he liked that I was leading president of the Model UN. And he said, would you be interested in being on this Intel project? And I said, sure. And he's like, I'm going to put you on the one with Bitcoin because I know you know about that. So I got put on a team. And that's when I started taking shit really seriously. And that's when I looked into it. So part of my mission was I want to figure out how to kill it. Because that's always my avenue is I want to figure out if I can break something. And if I can break it, how do I go about doing that? And as I was trying to figure out how to break it, I was like, oh, I think you could do this, this, and this. Well, I noticed not only did that not work, but there were other cryptocurrencies that were created to prevent exactly from what I was trying to do to happen, right? So I'm like, shit, I'm already behind, right? This is an incredibly innovative community. So that single moment in presenting in front of those serious people and my mentor getting me involved in that was kind of like, okay, so there's a career in this. But I never imagined doing what I'm doing now. Because even though I was going to school, I still view, even though I'm glad I went to school, I still viewed it as useless. I'm like, cool, I'm going to have a degree in whatever. How's that going to help me? So I really made an effort to do something different every semester. And by my senior year, I had all this experience, and I just noticed there was a gap in the market. The gap in the market was there was no one in the state of Florida on the government level that understood cryptocurrency, and there were no businesses in the crypto world in Florida that understood Florida government. I knew I didn't want to go back to DC. There was already people running DC chambers of commerce to lobby in Washington, so I didn't want to do that. So I had the idea that I was going to found what I run today, which is the Florida Blockchain Business Association. So what I did my senior year of college was I drove all across the state of Florida, missed a bunch of classes, and attended.
You didn't miss anything anyway, so
correct.
Who cares?
Correct. And I went to crypto and Bitcoin meetups in every part of the state. Went to Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, Sarasota, Naples, Miami, volunteered at Satoshi's Forest in Pensacola, which was the first nonprofit to accept Bitcoin in the world. Started meetups in Tallahassee, and I went and I found these passionate community leaders. I found the people who were running them. I said, hey, I have an idea. I'm going to start an organization that's going to start lobbying government, right, and educating and passing legislation. Do you want to be a part of it? Right? Because originally I viewed my organization as I loved grassroots stuff. I mean, so I took the bus into the State Department every day. On my way there, I was reading Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, and on my way back, I was reading the Bible, right, to clear my head after reading that.
Cool.
And so
I might read the Bible after that one too.
So,
I'll at least take a peek. Just
exactly.
in case.
So I got really interested in grassroots volunteering, and like in politics, you move people or you move money. Right. And I was like, okay, well, I'm broke, don't have money. So let's see if I can move people. And that's what I did. And so you already had these grassroots networks of communications. Every meetup had a Telegram. Right. So I could just join the Telegram. So I could keep in touch with the leaders. I got the leaders to be my first board. My first board were these people who just ran the meetups. Right.
Now, in this process, when you're basically asking people to believe in your idea,
yeah,
how many no's did you get before you got a yeah? Because it sounds like you just went almost like a door-to-door, like legwork.
So,
like, whether it's online or not, it's legwork.
Correct. So all of the community leaders got it, understood it, and were like, hell yeses. Because they were already in the game, and they're like, we've been looking for someone to do this. Most of the no's came from, for example, the first no was before I started my association, I was actually at a lobbying firm. And the lobbying firm, I kind of pitched the idea. I was like, well, I have an idea, because they wanted me to keep working with them. And I was like, well, I have an idea. Why don't I do a lobbying firm for crypto? And they were kind of like, well, you could do that, but we don't think you should for this, that, and the other reason. Well, I ended up quitting anyway. I even went to my former mentors in Tallahassee and I said, hey, so I'm thinking about starting this association. They were like, no, don't do that. Just do it under a current lobbying firm, which, in hindsight, yeah, I could have done that, but I just didn't want to work for anybody. And I also knew, because I interacted with lobbyists all the time, they're just like the dirtiest freaking people, right? And I was like, I have a community that I care about and a mission. I don't want these people to have any part of it. Which is still like something that I've been very fortunate to prevent, is I've had lobbyists, try to start associations just like mine, call each one of my members and stuff like that.
They'll corrupt the hell out of it. You know it.
Yeah, well, I have to work with them, so I do work with them when I have to. When I have to, correct. So, a lot of the no's came from really when I was actually trying to get people to join, because not a lot of people don't understand political activism. So they don't understand that you are either at the table or on the table until they're already on the table and it's too late, right? So in 2017, I was too early. Even though I was still able to get people to join, I was selling a good that people didn't think they needed yet, right? It was only until 2020 and 2021 where people really got so scared because legislation started coming down that they finally got it. And even still, sometimes still people, I have the unfortunate, I think it's called like the good rider effect, where I've been so successful, people are like, oh, just keep doing what you're doing. I'm not going to give you my money because I know you're just going to keep doing a good job, right? Not understanding that it requires funds to keep that good job going.
Kind of need capital maybe?
Sure. Yeah. And then I've even had people who there was like.
Hear that, right? Hey, buddy, you have plenty.
Yeah,
good?
Correct.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, thanks, asshole. But then on the flip side, I also had people who don't want me advocating, right? Because they actually like high barriers to entry, because they're like, you're going to introduce competition if you pass legislation that's friendly, right? So I've had people say, actually, I would prefer you not to pass this legislation, because they're already one of the big dogs who got in and who put all the money in. So they're like, no, even though you're going to create a better environment overall, you're going to hurt my business. So I don't want you to do that, right? But we still have an incredibly magical track record. So I've passed at least 3 to 4 bills in the Florida legislature since founding, and I've never gotten a single no vote, which is also incredible. I'm 25.
25 is fucking good. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, really. No law degree either, so that's also scary.
Great parents. Must have great parents too.
Yeah, parents are crazy, but crazy awesome.
Crazy's good.
Yeah, crazy is good.
Who doesn't want to not be a little?
I know.
Non-crazy.
I'm also 1 of 6, so
shit.
I know. I'm the youngest boy.
Oh, you must have got fucking tortured. You were either the youngest one's always tortured or babied.
Yeah, but usually
I was babied.
You were babied
because I had 2 brothers. The order was 2 boys, 2 girls, me, and a girl. So the 2 brothers left for college, and it's 3 girls and me. And so who did all the chores? It was the girls doing the cooking, doing the laundry. Of course, I would have to mow the lawn sometimes, but. So I was definitely the youngest baby, right? The youngest baby boy, which is a pretty big deal, especially in a half Italian family.
So what? 2 girls, 4 boys?
3 and 3.
Oh my God! Wow. If I was your dad, you can get me a bottle tall enough for the day. I would have a flask with me 24/7.
Well, they say after 3 kids it gets easier because the kids start managing themselves.
That's what I fucking hear.
So that's my sisters would manage us. My sisters did a lot of the chores. God bless them. I remember, and I think about it more now, but I would go off on weekends with my buddies, and my sisters couldn't because they had to do chores, right? And I'd be like, oh, now I realize I'm like, wow, that's pretty terrible, right? But you don't think about it when you're that age,
like,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, but my mom kind of understood that. All right, I'm a boy with 3 sisters. He needs to go hang out with guys. So
please.
So it was bad, but then it's also like, yeah, but I'm really thankful that I got to hang out and be a stupid young teenager with other dudes, right? Just getting in trouble as opposed to being a bunch of women my whole life at home, right?
Now, for people watching this, you got to this, even though it's political part of it, Bitcoin part of it, it's still entrepreneur. So when you're knocking on them doors, even if you only got 5 no's, whatever it is, what would you say to somebody who believes in something that they're doing, whatever it is? and they're trying to network in. Just keep trying, keep knocking on the door. If they say no, how do you get somebody not to be like, fuck, well, I guess this just was a bad idea. You know, like, what's something you could offer to somebody that, okay, if they say no, it's not that big a deal. This is what I would do, Sam, being that we're about to go through one hell of an accomplishment. This is what I would do. If I got 50 no's on, I wanted this guy to invest, he didn't, and then the next 49 guys, they said no, what would you tell that entrepreneur?
So my number one philosophy has always just in the back of my mind been to be adaptable, right? And that's what I think has always won the day for me is every time I've gotten a no, one, I'm always asking why the no, right? And then trying to immediately change my strategy either based off of that person, because people kind of fit into niches. So I'm just like, okay, so this person told me no. Why did they tell me no? And what type of person are they? I will meet that exact same type of person again, right? Just in a different body and different name. So now I know a different strategy, right? But if I don't adapt and I just keep using the same fact sheet every time, then I'm going to have to get used to getting those no's, right? So I try to just make sure that I roll with the punches, right? Which is really what the hardest part about this whole process has been, but that's what I had to do through my association is, like, at the very beginning, I viewed my association as this like NRA movement. We were going to rate politicians. I was going to be speaking at all these meetups. We were going to be voting and changing and screwing up the whole system, right? But then I learned my lesson. I realized, well, one, crypto isn't a top 10 or top 50 voter issue, right? So you could be a pro-crypto candidate, but people don't care. They want to know if you're pro-healthcare, pro-abortion, pro-life. That's all people care about. Immigration, you name it. Crypto's not on there. So I couldn't win elections with crypto. Two, individuals were the most time-consuming for the least amount of value add or money given to the association, right? So I was like, man, I can't do that either. So then I had to completely pivot to businesses and say, well, what can I offer businesses? Which I'm still adapting. So I still maintain that my organization is a grassroots organization. So I will have people join and they go, well, I like that you have A, B, and C, but my company's not a part of that industry. Well, I go, well, what would you like, right? And what can I do? And I will sometimes carve out an entire new thing for this industry and say, will you help me find people like yourself and let's create something?
Beautiful.
And that's where a lot of my committees have come from. My committees have been totally grassroots where people go, I like your mission in general, but can we apply it to real estate? Can we apply it to banks? Can we apply it to ATMs? Can we apply it to exchanges? And I go, okay, let's do it. Do you know at least one other exchange? And let's create a team. And now I have multiple teams that I can run.
Now, when you're doing this and you're building this up, what about the person you go to that? Oh yeah. I'm in. I'm good with it. I want to get with you, Sam. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And then they don't. Do you stay after them or do you just keep it moving?
In general, I will follow up literally about 3 to 5 times, and after the 5th time, I forego it because to me it's not hard to follow up, especially via email. I will literally, hey, just following up, right? Because I know they're going to see it. And after a while, what's funny is because now I kind of run the state in that regard. Like I have 3 conferences. If they're a part of the community, I will see them in person, right? And eventually, in my mind, it's not that they probably just don't see a value add yet, or they just don't want to admit that they're just not financially ready yet, which is sometimes the case. And people don't want to say that. So part of the thing that I do when I can tell I'm going to get a no is I try to give them an out from the beginning, right? Like if someone starts talking about the price, I'll go, yeah, I know the price can sometimes be an issue. And if it's not right now, certainly we can work together in the future and I can still get you involved, right? So I try to preempt the no so that, because no one feels worse, because it's all about how you make them feel. No one feels worse than having to say no because of a reason. So if I can predict the no's coming, I will give them that out and that reason because I can maintain that relationship and circle back and get them back in the future.
You offer them the no so that you have the rapport so that when you blow up, if you still want them,
Correct.
You can go back and you can say, well, maybe I wasn't good enough for you then,
Correct.
But now I am. And what you're saying about the initial no's, change the pitch. If
Correct.
the pitch isn't working, it's not going to work for the next no.
Correct.
So adjust the pitch. That's what you're saying with adapting, right?
Correct.
Beautiful.
And like I've made changes. Like I used to kind of sell over the phone, and I realized I need to stop doing that. So now I get them on a Zoom. I walk them through various templates that we've built so that they can see. So I'm attaching more than just, an ear. I'm getting your eyes. You're seeing me in person. So it's still more of a personal relationship. I mean, my association is largely personal relationships. So a lot of people are joining because they believe in me personally. They believe in my work ethic, not just the idea of an association.
Right. They believe in you. You sold yourself to them.
Correct.
And they believe in you.
Correct.
And that's how you did it. You got them to believe in you at 25.
Which, I mean, it's very humbling. It's a lot of pressure to perform, but it's good. It's what I need. And it does. I'm always thinking about, within my means, how can I generate value for these people, right? And how can we become an authority in the state, right? Because I view it beyond crypto. I view, if you can make a name for yourself and get what's called political access. I mean, even though I'm in crypto, every time I'm in Tallahassee, my ears are to the ground on what other political issues are going on, right? So just by the nature of the industry, I know about a range of different lobbying issues, to where I can talk to practically any business person. I can talk to them about the regulations that are affecting them. Even if I don't know it in depth, I have a general idea, because when I'm up during those hearings, all the bigwigs are there lobbying for what they want, right? And I can just listen in on that.
And you have you have IT experience, obviously, as you came through. So what would you say right now is the best platform to try to network with somebody, like something like you have going on, or a business to somebody else? What's the best way, do you think, to get a response? Because, like if you message somebody in Instagram, it's going to go to that thing and they'll never see it.
Yeah.
So what platform, just from your experience, would you say is best for an entrepreneur or somebody that has a great idea, like the fucking drone thing? What is the best platform to reach out to somebody, do you think?
That's hard. So I want to say Meetup, depending. So meetup.com, have you heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, meetup.com is great. It is literally exactly that. People develop meetups. So I run the Orlando blockchain and crypto meetup. So once a month, people who like crypto, we meet up. And I didn't even start it. 3 of my buddies started it, and then I moved to Orlando, and now I'm a part of it and I help run it. But that's how I started. Remember, I went to so when I said those meetups were on meetup.com.
I get it.
And so I literally typed in Bitcoin crypto in Miami,
and
in Palm Beach.
Every one of them, let everybody see your face.
And talk to them. Not only that, I emailed the person, because it lists who runs it.
And you hit them all.
So I'm like, that person who runs it is devoted. They have the passion. Obviously, they're going to want to be a part of what I'm doing, because they're already giving free time to run a group.
They got the connections.
Correct. So I know if I'm attached to them, everyone in, say, Palm Beach will know Sam's a good guy, because Robert knows Sam. Robert founded the meetup. He's been running it for 2 years. So instant credibility, right? So it was the perfect avenue. However, it depends on what your sale is. If I'm trying to fundraise, Meetup's hard, because wealthy millionaires,
they're not going there.
Not going to Meetup. Yeah. They have paid membership clubs that they're a part of, right?
But if you're just trying to network and get in with people, you
Meetup
just go to everything great. In that category, like whatever it may be. If you're going to be sell cell phones, you go to every cell phone conference there is, so they keep seeing your face.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
See, that's a lot of hard work, because I mean, look how many you just said you went to, and you probably went to more you forgot, and because of that, you have this.
Yeah.
I mean, congratulations at 25. I mean, take us through the site. You did this, man. So
the biggest thing that I take people is, if you scroll down to our track record, that's probably the thing that people care about the most, right? So our track record are the bills that we've passed, and the initiatives that we've run. So I walk people through, so that's kind of like a short list, right? So we've passed 1, 2, 3 bills, and then we just had another bill passed that was actually in the budget that we got people funding, that I have an article on, but that's not on here
Sam's
yet.
25, Rob. He's 25.
That's amazing.
Passing bills like...
So if you go down, the first bill that we passed, which was in 2019, which we were a no-name. We were not an authority, but what I did was when I worked in Tallahassee in college and even worked for that lobbying firm, I kept all those relationships. And that was the one thing that I knew. So even when I was in Tallahassee, all my fellow students who were up there were going to like these parties and networking events. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get to know a couple people really, really well. And then I'm just going to do my own thing. And so I often would actually leave networking events and just hit the gym. Right, because I was like, I need to and wake up early in the morning because I just had my priorities. I'm like, I'm going to figure it out. But I put a lot of time in the few relationships that I did foster, and those few relationships really benefited me in their contacts. So we passed a blockchain task force bill. This was like the first step in Florida in being crypto friendly. So the blockchain task force bill, all it did was create a 13-member task force appointed by Governor DeSantis to look into how crypto and blockchain would be used in the state of Florida. So how could government use crypto and blockchain, and then how could government promote crypto and blockchain businesses to come here? And what's like a pilot program that government could run that would be useful for crypto and blockchain? So we got that bill passed. First bill I've ever passed, not a single no vote. Flew through, got the right supporters.
Not one no vote.
Not one no vote. Because I learned how to market to both Republicans and Democrats. I knew some of the talking points, but I just had all the right partners. I mean, the important thing to note, as great as it is to be up on my high horse, a lot of people supported around me. And really, it's just the fact that I was able to tie myself to more credible people, right? Because in 2019, I was like 22, right? So, but I knew no one knew anything about crypto and tech, but I knew there were some people in Tallahassee that believed in me. So I was like, okay, I can do this. I can get this done. And it was funny because that bill actually, what happened was, and I still get heat on this, there were large industry leaders who had this bill and were essentially saying, we're going to create a task force. It was like a 22-member task force. And they were all appointing themselves to this board so they could claim it on their resume and be experts. So I went to a politician who I was very good friends with, and I said, hey, here's what's happening. This is totally inappropriate. It's going to be a bad name on the industry. He got pissed off, and he was on one of the committees, and he said, okay, let's rewrite the bill. So we rewrote it, and then in committee introduced the new language, got the old language completely stricken, and now we had my bill.
Nice.
But a lot of CEOs and presidents were going to be appointed to that, right? And here I am, some stupid 22-year-old, just upended that small little dream, right? And I still kind of feel the heat on that sometimes with certain associations. But we were able to, because of my partner, get that through the House, and then it got through the Senate, and then it was signed by DeSantis probably 2 or 3 months later.
Go to the next tab, Rob. And then DeSantis, what, 109 million he put into it?
No.
Scroll down.
So
yeah, explain this to me.
So we were able to.
That's a hell of a Photoshop job.
So
what the hell what are they using with that? Is that an NFT? Is that an NFT?
It might be. It might
Maybe
be.
it is.
Hey, there's no copyright. We can fucking.
So this is one of our most recent accomplishments of our various partners around the state.
Yeah.
So
June 17, 2022, Governor DeSantis signed into law Florida's $109.9 billion budget, which consisted of funding for blockchain and cryptocurrency-focused positions in Florida government. Now, what is he going to do that's going to be beneficial to Florida with that 109? Like, how is that going to help?
So let's back up. So Florida politicians have one job. That is to pass a budget. Everything else, when it comes to school choice, when it comes to abortion, when it comes to gun rights, everything's extra. Florida's government is mandated to do one job, and that's pass a balanced budget.
Now, what's like Georgia? Are they the same?
No. So every state government, technically, because they're not the Fed, they have budget requirements, so they have to pass a balanced budget. Florida's budget is, as of this year, $109.9 billion, right, was the budget that was passed.
Holy shit.
So, which, by the way, we're more populous than New York, but New York has about double our budget because we get the budget from what? Taxes, right? But we're a low tax state.
I think New York, they banned the mining of Bitcoin or something.
They're looking at banning mining. To my knowledge, the governor hasn't signed it yet.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Yeah,
But they also have the bit license, which was also terrible.
who knows with that guy in there?
But that's, by the way, was one of my selling points, right? Is I was saying, do you want to be like New York? We need to prevent Florida from being like New York.
Meanwhile, everybody's flying down here moving from New York.
Correct.
I mean, you couldn't hit this at a better time, buddy.
Correct. So you have a few things. You can pass legislation, which has to go through committees and whatnot, and the governor has to sign them. But you can also get things put into the budget, sometimes through legislation, sometimes through other means. So what some of our partners were able to do was they were able to create positions within Florida government that were strictly blockchain and cryptocurrency focused and get government funding for them. So a part of that $109.9 billion are positions in government. One of them will be a lawyer, right, which is important because one, no other state has this. Two, we're now going to have a lawyer in the state of Florida who's going to become the expert for everything crypto and blockchain as far as policy goes. So if I want to pass any bills in the future, depending on who that lawyer is, I now have a huge ally on the inside, right, who I can work with on passing that legislation. And there are about, I think, 3 other positions that are going to be included. But that's a really big deal because no other government, no other state government has positions like this.
And I think when you have something like that, more people are going to buy into it because now you have a lawyer with you. It's, you know.
Well, not even the lawyer, but specifically a government-paid lawyer.
Right, but to me, on the outside, who isn't a fan of Bitcoin, if I see a lawyer there, it makes me feel better.
Sure.
Right? So if I think Bitcoin, if my look at Bitcoin is just this virtual bullshit that's going to fuck everybody eventually. Yeah. And just like my friend in Pakistan, one of the best IT guys you can, I mean, the guy's unbelievable. He was the head of the IT in Pakistan, but it was too much work. And it was, he almost committed suicide because they were making him work like crazy at 20 in this Pakistan, like trying to hack everything on the planet. Well, like a guy like him, he's all into this shit too. Like he's all about it, but he's over there. Yeah. But then a guy like him, if he was here, wouldn't touch it because of the Bitcoin. His thing is there's no regulation at all. Like the crypto blockchain, fine. So my point is, without the Pakistan guy, is that for someone like me, the Pakistan guy, my point was, I had to get that. Sorry. This is talking. Remember, you forgot something too. Yeah. You should have helped me out because you know what I was about to say, Rob. Blame it on Rob. All right, now.
My fault.
So my buddy in Pakistan, he spends all his money on this thing called Bigo. You ever hear of that?
Oh, God.
What is it?
Bigo.
Oh, Bigo?
Bigo. Bigo. So now he's in Pakistan, but there's American girls in America. Okay?
Get ready for it.
So now, DeSantis, if you ever see this, you probably won't. I'm sorry I talk slightly vulgar with your boy here. But so what he does is he gets paid a lot of money, US dollars, which is worth a ton in Pakistan. Mm-hmm. So say he makes $5,000 a month over there. He spends all $5,000 in 1 week on this thing called Bigo. And he sends virtual hearts, shields, whatever, to these American women to finger themselves, to play with their boobs.
It's like OnlyFans?
No, it's way worse than that. Because this is like a shield is like $500. So now this girl's live on video and she's like, do you guys want to see my boob? Send me 5 shields. Each shield she's getting $500 and she's just in Miami sitting in her
He's out of money quick.
Now you got all these international guys, right? Pakistan, Philippines, that will never see an American woman that are masterminds in tech spending all of their money on this Bigo, and they're spending literally $5,000,
which is a lot more for them.
And they all use the Bitcoin shit, you know what I mean? And they do the virtual thing. So maybe my extremely negative attitude toward it is because of him, because he gets paid once a month, and then every single month there's a deal. So let's just say I pay him $100 a month. He'll say within a day, 2 days, hey, if you give me 50 now, even though I just paid for the month like 3 days ago, that will cover next month because he wants the 50 to go spend on Bigo with this virtual bullshit. And then I have to hear him hound me for the next 15 days if he can have an early payment.
See, that's a character. that's a character flaw. That's not a tech flaw.
But there's if you look at the active people on Bigo, 600, 700, sometimes 1.8 million at a time. And they're on there. They're not fake. They're on there. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, here's another thing about cryptocurrency in general is when you talk about getting rid of the government, that's why one of the biggest concerns would be for nefarious activity. But the funny and interesting part is no one wants to spend hard money. So everyone knows that Bitcoin is going to go up in value. So people would rather spend dollars because time value money, inflation, that dollar will be worth less in the future. So I'd rather buy more goods now, which on Bago means I'd rather pay in dollars because that Bitcoin that you gave that girl, $500 worth of Bitcoin a year from now could be $2,000 worth of Bitcoin. So that's $1,500 of unrealized income that he gave to her, right? So that's what's also funny is people are incentivized to be like, oh, I'll do crypto or we accept crypto. My association accepts crypto, but we get very few people to pay in crypto because we all view fiat as trash. So we'll be like, take my dollars. I'm keeping my Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And
that's I'll let you go. But that's what I was saying with the
story.
lawyer. With the lawyer, I would feel better knowing there was a lawyer backing it. Because
when I have a
I
legislative
agree.
committee that writes all the laws, by the way.
I would feel now that I would get into, and that every person we've talked to about, I said I thought I would never say this, but if the government was involved in it or there was some committee with some type of control, I'm for it. But when it's wide open,
well, that's what I was gonna ask you two questions. The first one being, do you think that by what you're saying, it sounds like, yes, Florida is right now the lead in the whole United States when it comes to jumping out in front of this, even though it may be a little behind, right? But we're in front of what could be coming.
Sure.
Would you say Florida is in the lead out of all the all the states?
Florida and Texas. I mean, so Wyoming legislative-wise has been the leader, but the problem is Wyoming has more cows than people. Wyoming's beautiful. The people out there have done a fantastic job in thinking through legislation. Florida has had to play catch-up, but Florida is very blessed in that people want to live here anyway. So what happened during the pandemic is a lot of crypto people migrated from California and New York to Florida. And they said, well, I'll only be here 3 months. I just don't want to be in a lockdown. Well, everyone knows the lockdowns went on for forever. So they ended up staying here longer, and they stayed here longer. And you're like, you know what? I actually love it here. I'm going to bring my company down here. I'm going to bring my business down here. And that happened in Texas too. Although Texas is popular because of all the oil and gas. So a lot of Bitcoin miners go there. Florida kind of gets everything else. So in large part, Florida kind of had its moment regardless of the legal environment, just because we stayed open. I get international calls. I get calls from people in Europe who say, hey man, we traditionally look at setting up shop in New York, but I literally had a guy who I'd never talked to before, so he has no idea what my bias is in anything in life. He goes, we thought about moving to New York and California, but I'm not into communism, so I wanted to look at Florida. And I go, okay, well, how can I help? Right? And he told me all about his project, and he said, where should I move? And so I gave him the full rundown of different parts of Florida, because Miami gets a lot of the attention, but Miami's still a lot of these people, they value a good family life more than where the hype is. So if you're a CEO or an entrepreneur, I want to move my company to Florida, but I might want to raise my kids somewhere outside of Miami, right? And so I have people who move to Naples, Sarasota, Tampa, Orlando, Palm Beach, is its own hub. There's actually a conference here for crypto in Palm Beach, I think in 2 months.
I see a lot of them pop up here.
Yeah.
All here in Florida.
Yeah. All here in West Palm. A lot. Like once a month.
Correct. It's crazy. And which, by the way, funny, running the conference circuit now, the inflation in the conference realm has been crazy, because not only has inflation increased costs in general, but now Florida is like the number one market for hosting a conference. Wow. Right? Because we stayed open. So during the 2020 and 2021, no one was, because it's normally New York, California, and like Nevada, right? Where all the conferences are hosted. But they kept closing. And so people just got scared, and they said, well, we'll try Florida. And once you try Florida once, it's like crack, right? They're like, you know what? We're just going to keep it simple. We're going to keep coming here, right? Because now it's reliable. But what does that mean? That means
flights got screwed.
Correct.
No, that's what we had. A really good friend of mine, great guy, Leo Brancato. He was in
Bronx Tale.
The Bronx Tale. Really good friend of mine. He was Caludro in the movie.
Cologino.
I've never seen the movie.
That's a really good movie. So he was in, and he was trying to leave, and he couldn't get a flight out. We thought it was like the pilot thing or whatever. No, it was a fucking Bitcoin conference.
No shit.
Yeah,
That's
it was a crypto conference right down here. Yeah, you couldn't
Yeah,
get a
Miami.
flight. Yeah, you couldn't
So
get
they
a
moved to Florida. Yeah.
So it was in West Palm. He was originally flying out of West Palm, got canceled, drove down to Fort Lauderdale because his movie was coming out in 2 days that he had to be in New York for the premiere, right? So then he drives to Fort Lauderdale to leave. No flights. Like, it would be booked 2 seconds later, canceled.
Holy cow.
He ended up, the travel agent was like, hey, there's one in Miami. And he's like, forget it. I'm just going to rent a car. I got to be back for the movie premiere. And he ended up just driving back. And it was because
15 hours?
Yeah, but he has a movie premiere.
Yeah, I
2
know.
days,
I can't miss that.
Was he not going to be in the movie premiere that he's the star of the movie? So he actually had to drive back, and we had thought it was like bullshit with whatever, the whole thing. But then come to find out, he had figured out while he was driving 17 million hours back that there was a conference in West Palm.
Wow.
So that just goes to show you, how what you're doing is obviously influence people if it's affecting flights, buddy.
Yeah.
And you're at like the top of it.
It's all my fault. Tell your buddy.
And then you were in an article where they were, go to the tab after accomplishments, where they're talking about digging for digital gold, which we kind of referred to earlier in the podcast. But they have scroll down because what they're I have pop-ups. Gotta love pop-ups.
Pop-ups.
Yeah.
Gotta get the pop-up blocker.
Some of
Ad
them
blocker plus,
some
man.
of them you get, but then sometimes the pop-ups that you want don't pop up, and then we have to pop up, scroll all the way down. He's there. They talk about it. You'll go up and you'll see his name
Right here.
Yeah. And what were they doing? So were they trying, or was it the other guy? So explain this gold mining thing and what your play was in this interview.
Oh, okay. So this is, I know this Florida Trend article. So I had a gig while I was running my association, I had a gig at the Seminole County Tax Collector's office. The Seminole County Tax Collector was the first government in the United States to accept crypto for taxes, which is incredible. The first government. So Florida is interesting in that we have positions that are called constitutional officers. Constitutional officers are people like your property appraiser, sheriff, tax collector, clerk of the court, and did I say sheriff? I forget. But we have 5, and they are held to the Constitution. They have a large amount of authority to act. But not a lot of people use that authority. But this guy, the Seminole County tax collector, decided upon getting elected that he was just going to accept crypto for taxes, right? Which was very innovative. And so Seminole County is where I live. So I got to know this guy. He ended up hiring me on to run his blockchain and cryptocurrency projects. Of course, he did a lot of nefarious stuff, which you can read about online, and end up not getting elected again, which meant all the crypto stuff went away. And it actually gave crypto a somewhat bad name in Florida. However, most of that's been forgotten about because there's so many good actors like Mayor Suarez down in Miami. DeSantis has been great. Even Mayor Jane Castor out in Tampa at my last Tampa conference said she was going to accept part of her salary in Bitcoin. So even when you have bad actors, we've recovered really well. But even though he was a bad actor, he still did innovative stuff, like being the first government organization to accept crypto. And then what I was in charge of was actually the county was looking at doing a digital identity program, which we were going to be using blockchain technology, because you think, going back to Bitcoin and how I talked about how you're getting rid of a third party, what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin's just code. So what if I just get rid of driver's licenses and have a digital ID, and then instead of sending Bitcoin back and forth, we're sharing credentials, like identity credentials, right? So now imagine I go to a bar and you don't need to know who I am, right? I just give you a QR code, you scan it, and it says whether I'm over 18 or not.
Oh man, no more fake IDs.
No more fake IDs.
Ah, boy.
I know. But now the bartender doesn't need to know where I live. They don't need to know my age, height. All they need to know is whether I'm over, did I say 18? Over 21. Yeah. Over 21 or not, right? And that's all that matters.
But there's no picture of you, or there is?
Well,
There can be or there can't be. It depends on the
yeah.
digital identity, right?
Depends on the software you use.
Correct. And the strategy, and that gets into process. But that's what we were also developing that was going to be incredibly innovative at that county. But one of the fun parts of what I do and working in politics is people get unelected or people lose elections. It's politics. Things change. I mean, what I'm doing right now is I'm actually, I'm backing crypto-friendly candidates. I was able to get certain candidates in the state of Florida up to like $40,000 in donations to support their campaign.
And you're the first one to do that, right? You're the first one to go out and basically recruit people for Florida or whatever that are pro-crypto.
Yeah, I mean, people have tried in the past, but it's normally been like a Libertarian Party thing, right? But Libertarians never get elected, and I know they're going to hate me for saying that, but I'm sorry, Libertarians never get elected. So if you want to work and actually pass legislation, you either need to work with Republicans or Democrats. You need to work with a mainline party. In Florida, even though my association is nonpartisan or bipartisan, we mostly work with Republicans because Florida is a completely red legislature, right? And if you want a bill to pass, you normally need to work with the dominant party. However, we've never gotten a no vote from a Democrat. They've been just as friendly and just as good to us. There's even
that's great.
Yeah,
I'm happy to hear that.
So there's Congressman Soto in Orlando is on the congressional side, co-chair of the Congressional Blockchain Caucus. Him and his team are amazing. There's actually a guy out of Orlando, Maxwell Frost, who's like my age and he's running for Congress, and I think he's going to win. He's a super badass. He came to my conference in Orlando and was like, he wants to set up a crypto council, do all kinds of stuff. If he wins his primary, he's going to win the general because it's a solid blue district. But he's my age and he's running for Congress and he's pro crypto, right? And
but
so,
Sam, this could be bigger than just crypto because you're having red and blue get along over this crypto. They don't get along over anything.
For now,
I'm just hoping for
it is going to
that you bring everybody together.
No, so once again,
here comes the rain on the parade, right?
Correct. So once again, crypto is not one of the mainline issues, right?
Right.
And if it comes down to
nobody gives a fuck.
And there are becoming some partisan things in the fact that, for example, everyone's blaming inflation on Biden. Whether that's true or not, it's become an inflation. Republicans are trying to say inflation is a purely Democratic thing now. Ted Cruz has become very pro-crypto. The red states of Texas and Florida have taken very pro-crypto stances, while the blue states of California and New York are going very negative. Elizabeth Warren notoriously hates cryptocurrency, right? For a variety of reasons. Brad, I think his name is Brad Sherman, is a congressman out of California who also really hates crypto.
What did Trump call Warren? He had a funny
Pocahontas.
one. Pocahontas? Was she Pocahontas?
She was Pocahontas. Because she claimed she was partially Native American to get into Harvard, I think was the story. But so it very well could become partisan, just how Bitcoin's become geopolitical.
Yeah.
Like, who would imagine, like I said, you have both Ukraine and Russia saying we're legalizing crypto, and the U.S., Biden came out with an executive order on crypto for a variety of reasons, but it was most urgently produced once Russia said we're potentially going to start using crypto.
What did he forget then? did he forget
possibly.
about that?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, kind of slipped him on.
Well, that was
that guy's poor brain.
That was my question. Is there a way?
I almost feel bad for him.
Is there a way that the government? I know you're involved with what you're doing, but the federal government, they can't control it either, or can they control it?
So in my Bitcoin wargaming sessions, I walk through what I would do if I was the government to try to kill something like Bitcoin. You can't. So what I claim is they could try to kill adoption. What do I mean by adoption? The masses using it becoming regular and normal.
Yeah.
They can't kill the tech, and they can't kill that 10% who are always going to use it, like a black market. You can't ever snuff out a black market. Now, I don't believe that doesn't mean you shouldn't be laws because you can't get rid of the black market. I'm not one of those people. But I do believe that if you're a government, it's all about incentives. And so they want to incentivize the Joe Schmo just to not buy it and not use it. How do they do that? Normally taxes. I mean, so, what keeps me up at night is I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin becomes a huge threat to the dollar. What if one day Congress says, we're going to tax your Bitcoin based on your holdings by 50%?
Do you actually think that there's a chance that they're not going to do that and grandfather that in?
The world's really unpredictable and things move incredibly fast. So The question would be is, do they have time to do it, and do they have the wherewithal to do it? When the government's divided, they move slower on such things, although we have an entirely, or I would argue, an entirely blue federal government right now, and they're still moving really slow and seem to not be able to get their priorities straight. That's a function of the current government that we're in anyway. So once again, they might be too incompetent to make that kind of decision in time. That's yet to be seen. But there's a billion different scenarios that you could run through. We're probably in the most dangerous situation that we're in right now, not just financially for Bitcoin, but in the world, because you have one order, the U.S. world order, that is fading and going away. And the risk is, when does that become weak enough for something else to come on board? But there's still power. There's enough power to, I don't know, bomb people. So, like, I don't know what that will look like, but you have one financial order that is fading away, but that could still crush you if you wanted, right? If it wanted to pinpoint someone, it could crush you. But you still have this other financial world order that's ready to take its place at any moment. And so that's the most dangerous spot to be in. Hopefully the time will go by to where they will not be able to pinpoint and do whatever they want with you. And then this new financial order that will hopefully be, less catastrophic, will come along, right? Because
so the hope, put simply, is that nothing happens in the next, say, 2 or 3 years,
Sure.
and that allows the Bitcoin community and yourself and the miners to create a stronger, let's just say, encryption to make it easy. Where if the government wanted to step in, it would be really hard for them to figure out exactly how much Bitcoin you have or Rob has to tax you. Or they just step in and they can't control it and regulate it. They just tax it.
Yeah, correct.
And then that you can't stop.
No, and so that's what so I would argue, like, imagine one day, the feds just say we're taxing 50% of your Bitcoin holdings as an ESG tax because Bitcoin mining is bad for the environment.
Yeah,
now,
they'll come up with some reason. Bad
correct.
For the environment.
Is that going to kill? Yeah, sure.
But that's something they would say, yeah.
Well, no, they have been saying it. So that's a popular line, that Bitcoin mining is bad for the environment because it uses electricity.
Yeah. Really?
I'm serious.
With Wi-Fi?
So
I think they're using Wi-Fi.
And you can always you can always tell it's planned because it happens in a day where there's 5 different publishing houses or companies that come out with research. I know. But I walk through in my war games, like, that's what I would do, right? And I would use it, and that makes it political. If it's bad for the environment, well, now by using this, you're actually hurting the environment. So now it's not about the financial industry and the dollar and inflation. You've changed the conversation, right?
And then you just adapt and beat it.
Correct.
And where do you see, I don't know, like, use a number here, let's say 20 years from now?
Do 10.
All right,
10.
We'll do 10.
Yeah.
10. 10 years from now, do you think
5.
crypto will be the main use? Let's say 20. I'm going to say 20. I know 10's not far off. Let's say 20. The main use of paying for things and
I don't know about paying for things, but I know Bitcoin in 10 years will be a solid store of value that average people in the world are trying to get a hold of because they don't trust their currencies.
Assuming robots don't take us over by then.
Correct.
Really?
Correct. But I don't think robots will take over by 10 years.
No, I don't think so either.
And then also,
Probably
I mean, when you think about Bitcoin, you think about all that. You're talking about, I'm sorry, I can't remember the man's name from Orlando that's running for Congress.
Oh, Maxwell Frost.
Young guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I told my dad Bitcoin, he'd be like, "What the fuck is Bitcoin? What are you talking about?" My dad's 82 years old.
Nice.
Hey, Dad. He won't be. He doesn't even know what YouTube is. So, hey, Dad.
Really? No.
But an older generation kind of blows off Bitcoin.
Yeah.
There's some. I bet there's some out there. There's probably some 60 or 70 year old that's invested in Bitcoin. But
a lot, actually.
Oh yeah.
But do you think it's more of a younger thing, that if more people of a younger age, not 78 or 76, become president or vice president or any of that this could even change too?
Good point.
It could. I mean, everything's generational. I mean, so Fundstrat actually had Fundstrat's a research institution. They have a really good YouTube video I should send you. And he talks about how The reason we saw the growth in the stock market was because when the boomers were growing up and getting their main source of income, they put all their money in the stock market, whereas the previous generation put it all in precious metals. And so that's been driving our stock market growth up until now, right, was boomer money. The argument Fundstrat makes is millennials and Gen Z are putting all their money in crypto, right? Because we don't have necessarily faith in the stock market, which means we haven't even seen the apex of crypto because we haven't seen the majority of millennials and maybe even Gen Zs enter the workforce, or what they call the spending years, when you're 30 and 40 and now you're in a career and you're able to invest money.
Right. That generation hasn't made it to the age where they would be looking into that.
Correct. So definitely a part of it is generational, but the other fact is I don't believe that human nature changes. So there are still different incentives. So even if you're younger and you're using cryptocurrency, that doesn't mean that you still might have other priorities that trump that. The fact of the matter is, if cryptocurrency is going to make you lose control, right? Well, even if you're a young person, everybody loves control. So maybe they just find a different type of cryptocurrency that is actually more controlling. That's what most people are scared about CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. A lot of people are worried about the U.S. federal government will actually come out and say, you're downloading this app on your phone. You don't need a bank anymore. You have USD coin. And that's what we're going to use, and we're also going to track you by it, which is essentially what China does right now. That could happen. There's research
Well, if
going
China
on.
does that, then that would be a reason why they kicked Bitcoin, right?
Correct.
So that's probably why they did it. So now they kind of have it in a way, but their own way, where they control everything like they do everything else.
Correct.
So there's our answer to that one.
Correct. Because like with any technology, I tell
That
people
makes
this.
sense why the fuck they did that.
Well, yeah, but the hard part is, once again, is you can't kill Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So why not still try to take advantage of some of its infrastructure?
They wouldn't be independent,
Yeah.
right? They want to be them.
Yeah.
What I thought was funny was the other article that you were in. Go to the next, the last tab. And this guy's coming on here, and he's trying to act like Bitcoin is the only way to launder money. Right, Sam? He's making, scroll to the top, Rob, so he knows which one this is.
Florida politics one.
This one with Bracey. And what he's saying in this, I believe, unless I'm reading it wrong, is he's kind of making an argument how Bitcoin or crypto and money laundry, blah, 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 blah. And my thing and you were in here, you're at the bottom of it, I believe. And my thing, you can launder money with fucking anything.
So when I did research for USSOCOM, and this is constantly being shown to be true, the most secure form of currency transaction is with physical dollar bills. If I give you a dollar bill right now, I mean, we're on camera, but if we go in the hallway and I give you a dollar bill, nobody knows, right? Nobody knows except you and I. Even on Bitcoin, like I said, it's a publicly trackable ledger. I don't know who's behind the wallets, but I can see money movement, right? Pallets of cash is still the main way that terrorists and organized criminal organizations want their money, because there is no trace, right? The odd question is, where are they getting pallets of cash, right?
Right.
But either way, they have pallets of cash, and that's more secure and more anonymous than any form of crypto.
I don't know. Somebody got on an airplane and put a lot of money on cash and dropped it off somewhere. I know that.
I know.
And nobody talked about that.
No, and we don't know where that cash goes now.
No, and I know if I was the one on that made those arrangements, you wouldn't be seeing me.
No.
And if you did, we wouldn't be seeing you.
No, you would not.
Isn't that fucking interesting?
A lot of interesting things.
Now we know how they got the money, buddy.
Correct. Now there are
one of the many ways, I'm sure.
Correct. There are cryptocurrencies like Monero that are I won't say meant for crime. I'll say they're meant for privacy. So they do everything they can. What would happen sometimes is people would steal crypto, or they would buy drugs with crypto, and they do Bitcoin, but then they trade it with Monero, which is a privacy coin, then trade it with Zcash, and then go back into Bitcoin. And the Monero and Zcash act like a river if you're following footsteps. It dead ends at the river. Shit, you don't know where they went once they got in the water, right? So there certainly are functions, right, and cryptocurrencies trying to be the most private, but there's a high barrier to entry. You really have to understand that stuff. And a lot of criminals, especially if they're simple, it's a lot easier just to use dollars. Right?
Yeah.
I
can tell you right now, nobody's going to, well, unless that particular person would have to, nobody's going to go through this shit. Those guys can't even read newspapers right.
A lot of it would be like international potential use, right?
That's what I would think. Right?
But even still now, strangely enough, these people still would rather just use cash.
Yeah.
Right. Physical dollars.
Now, with the economy the way it is right now and what you're doing and what you're pushing, how can what you're pushing help the economy in the situation we're in? And in my belief, it's going to get way, way worse before it's better. How can this Bitcoin crypto that you're on, that you're heavily involved in, that you've accomplished amazing things at 25, how can that help the economy?
The most basic thing is, if inflation continues to go up, how do we measure value? How do I buy? I always used to joke, it's going to be awesome when Bitcoin's $1 million. But by the time Bitcoin's $1 million, maybe a bag of bread will be too. Right?
Right.
So a society can't function when there's high inflation. Right? I mean, we all hear the stories of Zimbabwe, Venezuela, where people immediately cash out to buy lunch because the lunch will be 10 times more expensive by the time dinner time comes around. Commerce and economy cease to halt. So it's creating an alternative, a backup option to where if we get into that scenario, we have an alternative to trade with, which is going to be necessary. There's not very many people, I would argue, that over 90% of Americans don't just have gold hanging around. And even if they do, how the hell am I going to know what my gold bracelet gets me in a grocery store? Right? Is the grocery store just going to be like, oh, gold necklace? All right, let's haggle. Here's like a pound of beef.
Here's your change in gold, right?
Correct. So that we can't just simply, but because we're familiar with numbers and credit card systems and tech, and even if we go into some kind of dark age, I still think the internet will be around. I think that's where cryptocurrency comes in. And it remains a place where we can still transact and have commerce, which is an essential function, right? We're not going to move overnight to bartering. If we do, there's going to be a lot of dead people from starvation, right? Because you think, we're a service economy. What do service people have to barter with? They don't produce anything. It's a service, right? They're not the ones making materials. They're not making or using machinery. They're not growing food, managing cattle, mining, for copper, bronze, manufacturing something. They produce a service. So if the money goes away, what does that service person use to measure their value now? Even if it is a needed service, right? What do they use, right?
They don't have anything.
Correct. But maybe cryptocurrency will be that alternative, right? If we go through a kind of failed financial system.
I think that the most easiest thing to understand about what you just said was lunch and dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense, right? Lunch is always cheaper than dinner.
Yep.
And then when you apply it to what you just said, it's simple terms that make sense.
Yeah.
It's growing on me. I'm not sold on the shit, but it's growing on me.
I mean, it's like anything. The one thing I'll tell you is there's nothing new under the sun. And when it comes to medicine, pharmaceuticals, anything in life, like we all know some of the most popular pharmaceuticals are based off of what we find in nature. Bitcoin is really just replicating what we already know is the gold.
Pharmaceuticals are what we found in nature?
Some of the pharmaceuticals that we know of, they try to do synthetic versions of what plants do.
Oh, yeah.
Right, is what I mean. Not that they're found in nature, but we try to replicate what they do.
I hate that. I studied that for 18 years. I hate
Really?
Big Pharma. Hate them.
So
Crooked as fuck.
I'm right there with you.
Thank you. Love to hear that.
For a variety of reasons. Not a fan of the Sackler family at all, but please, Sackler family, don't kill me.
They will if you go to them.
I know. But in any case, like Bitcoin is not a new concept. Bitcoin is saying, let's go back actually to what we used to have, but we know that we can't go back to what we used to have because no one owns the gold anymore. How do we replicate gold? How do we replicate what we think is a sound currency and give independence back to the individual, right? So that's another reason why I'm very bullish on Bitcoin is technically it's not trying to do anything new, right? It's just saying, how do we go back? But how do we use current tech to go back, right? And I think some of actually the best products, especially in tech, are trying to do just that.
You've sold me more than anybody on it.
Yeah.
And I would, before you walked in here, I was completely against it. completely against it. I'm still.
Now you're
against
just
it.
50% against it.
I'm 75% against
that's
it because
better,
I think Putin owns it. I think he's running it all. That's just my opinion. Could be completely wrong. Until there's some type of regulation, I won't buy a penny of it. And I could be that guy.
It is already regulated. It's regulated as property. So what regulation would you like it to be?
Property. I went on Earth.co and I thought I could actually buy a piece of
Personal
China.
property.
yeah.
So it's taxed as property.
Now
Bitcoin is anyway.
Here's a random question. Okay, just throwing it out there. I have a son who's 15 years old and a 12-year-old. If my 15-year-old son starts to work, which he should be very soon, and the employer, whatever employer that may be, offers to pay him in Bitcoin, well, that'd be amazing, right? Because Bitcoin's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. But he could pay. He wouldn't pay in a whole Bitcoin.
Okay. So pay you in some sort of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Instead of
Dollars.
Yeah. If it were you, would you say do it or no? Go find a job that's just going to pay you regular American dollar.
It depends. If I was 15 and I didn't have to pay for anything,
okay,
I'd take the Bitcoin.
Yeah, let's say that. Okay.
I would absolutely take the Bitcoin because by the time I'm 20 and actually even have a concept of what
in
money is.
2022 though, right now, you would take it?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. If I was 15, I had no expenses. Now, me personally, because I need liquid cash, I would take the dollars and then just set aside dollars that I put into Bitcoin, which is what I do anyway right now, right? But yeah, if I had no expenses and I was your kid and you were feeding me and I didn't have to pay rent, Bitcoin all the way.
Okay.
Because no risk, right?
No
Not
risk.
really risk. And if it's dollars, kids are going to fucking just spend it
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, what's the kid going to do with dollars? They're going to be inflated away, whereas Bitcoin's like, hey, kid, would you like to be paid, and this is the year 2001, would you like to be paid in Amazon stock?
Yeah, because
Right.
I asked that because
Yeah.
remember, I don't know if you probably know the story, but Odell Beckham from the Rams, his contract, I think it was with the Rams, maybe it was with the Browns. Whenever he signed the contract, he took like 80% of the contract in Bitcoin
Really?
and the rest in cash.
Yeah.
So they were making fun of him because they were like, whatever his contract was signed, let's say $50 million. Whatever amount he took, he basically got negative, or he dropped because Bitcoin crashed. Whatever. I don't know all the behind that.
Sure.
So his say it was $50 million he got paid. He only got like $10 million technically. But I was wondering, like, because you see more athletes, there really are. There's more athletes that are
And they're
taking
trying to
contracts.
do NFTs. And
Yeah. So
Well, it's kind of
very
like
interesting.
what Sam's been saying the whole time is that the trust of the dollar is by the day going out the window, where people that may have been completely against Bitcoin or crypto in general are starting to look at it a second time or a third time, or like me, a 50th time. Because, when you go to the store and you see shit that isn't nothing on the shelves, and then when it is the price, and then everything else, and you just see everything, you can just see the future. You start to go back and you look at alternatives.
Yeah.
I got two last questions for you.
Yep.
I won't kill you with
No, hit me.
40 more that I have. This is for Chris, your buddy. He wants me to ask you about shell games. What the fuck is shell games? And don't tell me you don't know. Because
Oh, no, shell games, he was referring to shell currency, I guess he called, which we already talked about.
Oh,
they were
the
using
island.
seashells as currency.
Oh, okay.
I think he's so funny. I think he said that he was like, tell him about shell games. And I knew what he meant, but I was...
You know what I thought? I thought Squid Games. But
shells?
I didn't know.
But there was a crypto based off Squid Games. That was a total scam.
Really?
Yeah, so what happened was these people were like, oh, let's just create a crypto off of Squid Games. People are going to think it's associated with Squid Games and they're going to buy it all. Well, it was a total rug pull. So they created it. A bunch of people bought it. But because they didn't understand the idea of a private key, they just put their money in. But it says in the contract you can't get your money out. So they put their money in. It goes to like, I forget. Let's say it's even $8 from 0 to 8. That's a huge
They
return.
can't take it out at all.
The owners just absconded. And they just took the money and said, nice, see ya. And then it just dropped. And people were like, yo, what the hell? But that happens. There's scams out there. It's terrible.
He's the biggest. He makes Rogan a nobody. He gets 239 million views on average per video. Mr. Beast.
Oh, because it's Squid. Oh, I wasn't even thinking it. He didn't promote the token, though. I don't think I know he did his own Squid Games.
Yeah, no, yeah, but they copied off his Squid Games, and he's the biggest on the planet on YouTube.
Wait, he invented Squid Games, Mr. Beast?
Well, I don't know if he invented it. I don't even really know what it is. I just know what he did. He did a scenario where like people get like they're walking around and bang, you got hit. Well, he sets up these like $10-20 million events.
I watched one of his chases. I know, it's pretty cool.
And he gets 200-300 million views every fucking time. I mean, the guy's making a killing.
I saw his chocolate factory.
And then he's got those NFTs. He's that guy's on a whole nother level. But that would be the guy to make a fake one because, you know.
But he's got such a good reputation now.
He's got a perfect reputation.
So he couldn't even touch it because then that reputation, bye-bye.
And then he went and he did all of this shit. And he does NFTs like crazy, which he has to use crypto for that.
Yeah, NFTs are normally Ethereum tokens.
Okay. So the crypto thing.
Yep.
So he does that like crazy. Then he took all that money, and because he's so popular on YouTube with kids, he would go to, say, like a mom and pop, like fast food place and say, hey, look, I'm going to put Mr. Beast in here for 3 months. You're going to give me all the profit, but you got my name on there.
Mr. Beast Burgers.
Mr. Beast Burgers. And he would go state to state.
Kills it.
It's in there for 3 months. He gets all the money.
Kills it.
And Mr. Beast is now on there. Every kid in the planet knows who this is.
That's badass.
That restaurant just went to the moon. He just got 3 to 6 month full profit because his name's on it, and then he's on to the next state while he's selling, you know, Elon Musk NFTs for, you know, 50 grand and make
gotta respect the game, man.
And the kid's 22.
Yeah.
Is he only 22?
He's only 22.
See, that's when I feel like a failure. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Dude, you're 25 with these guys.
Yeah, I know, but I should be 22 doing YouTube videos.
How about us over here, buddy? The hell if he feels like a failure, who are we?
I'm not as old as Tommy, though, so.
You're same year. He's in the same year and was born in, well, raised Philly too. My last question.
Yes.
Where do you see Bitcoin in 2023? 1 year from now.
Like price-wise?
Yeah, like where do you think the price will be? What changed? Just a wild guess. Probably won't be right, even if
At
you
the
were
end of 2023,
genius.
I really think it'll be somewhere around 100K.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, there's a stock-to-flow model, which is based off the stock-to-flow ratio, which tracks what Bitcoin would be if it was what I would call a completely free market. But I don't believe it's a completely free market anymore because there's so many instruments tied to it, which is why you see some of the weird price fluctuations. Like, it's very weird that it's as low as it is right now, even though it's not abnormal. It was like a 70% retracement. So, I wouldn't be surprised if within the next year and by 2023, Bitcoin just like a rubber band shoots up. And then the thing is, as it shoots up, people get FOMO. So then they start buying, and then the buying makes it shoot up even more, which is more FOMO. And then you see Bitcoin back on the scene before the next drop. So I wouldn't be surprised if by 2023 it's 100K. But I also said that in 2022, and I was wrong. So,
well, it's possible. It's possible.
Is.
And now, would whatever Sleepy does that affect Bitcoin, or that does not affect Bitcoin?
If inflation continues to get worse, I think people will eventually, depends how bad inflation gets, will be forced to look at alternatives, right? But it's a really hard question because...
does anybody have any money left to put into Bitcoin?
Correct.
That would be the question,
exactly.
right?
And so then if anything, maybe Bitcoin goes up in value, but it only benefits the current holders because no one else can get into it.
Right. So it's kind of up in the air at this point.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely got to string it back in here for an update because
I will.
You're the easiest to understand of all, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we tried to get to this?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Well,
I got
there
a
you
lot of
go.
other shit.
And I'm in Florida, so there you go.
Where do you live?
Orlando.
Okay, so what, 3 hours?
Yeah, not far at all.
All right. But yeah, you could teach me some more shit later. Maybe
I'll be
maybe
here.
I'll have a Bitcoin by the time.
Hey,
I don't know. Fuck it, 20 grand a piece. Fuck you. I'm not paying 20 grand right
that's
now.
pretty damn good price.
I know it is, but I don't know. I'm not sold that much. Maybe after this, you come back again, then I'll be sold into it.
And then it'll be 100K when I come back, and you'll be
Yeah.
like, "Damn it, Sam! You should have pushed me harder."
Well, if you help me with Spotify, it won't be a problem.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, man. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you
bro.
for having me on the show, Tom.
You're awesome. He was a good Rob.
That was great.
Yeah, man.
Great,
Got to
great.
come back.
Good stuff.
And congratulations on all the success.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I know you'll take it to the top.
I better.
And
better.
tell Governor DeSantis we'd love to have him on the show.
I will. So I'm actually. Are we still filming?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm in the middle of setting up a crypto pack, and that crypto pack is going to be going donating money to crypto-friendly candidates and hopefully, if I'm lucky, getting a fundraiser for him together.
When are you
That's
gonna do that?
super pie in the sky. I don't know.
Well, when you do, you come here to do it.
So the fundraisers for him now are incredibly expensive, just because the amount of money that he's pulling in because of maybe other future ambitions. The barrier to entry has gotten a lot higher. But certainly it is my goal to get him in front of the crypto community here.
Well, you can do it right here. Just
In this-
text
Hear
me the
that,
date.
Governor
I will.
DeSantis?
Yeah.
MSCS Media Podcast.
I will, easy.
You push it here, and then we make a boom. We show traction, and then you both come in.
There
Easy.
we go.
Easy, double whammy.
Double whammy. All right, Sam. Pleasure to meet you.
You as well, Tommy.
This has been